Hello, welcome everyone to Knights of Last Call. My name is Derek Melinda. I am your host tonight, talking about archetypes from Pathfinder 2. Welcome everyone. We'll give it a few minutes for everybody to start coming in here. Hopefully you all are doing well today. I see Power of Doi is here, along with, of course, Ben Asaro, who I do not expect to stick around for this. But hey, maybe you will, Ben. I don't know. Anthony's here. Howdy, Anthony. Pajoatam. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. What you got, PJ? PJ's here. Yeah, so tonight we're going to be working on archetypes. We're going to be trying to get through, not watching this one because I'm doing No Neth this November. Yeah, well, you know, a lot of people would struggle to do No Neth this November there, Lance. Half asleep and working tomorrow, so all right, that's fantastic, great. I am so hot right now. It's like 70 degrees out. It's November 3rd. So we had like heat, the heat on, but it got so hot today. And my recording area is upstairs and there's just one little window. And then once all the lights get on in here, boy, it gets so hot. And I don't want to like put on the air conditioning. That just seems crazy. It's crazy. What's going on, Sparky? Oh, so hopefully everybody, nice. PJ. All right, sweet. It's supposed to be even warmer this weekend. Well, hola, Bojota. Piota. Buenos noches. All right. We've got, let's see. We're getting about 23 people in here. I'm not going to beat around the bush tonight. We're going to probably get into it. Because we got stuff, we got places to be, we got things to do. So hopefully we're all settled in. Again, as always, if you're enjoying this content, please feel free to like, subscribe. That of course always helps us with YouTube, getting us our stuff pushed out there. You know, we do a lot of live streams. We do somewhere around anywhere between 5 to 8 hours of live streams each week, and that's a mix of Pathfinder 2 mechanical content, actual play. We've been playing our Quest for the Frozen Flames game, and of course RPG philosophy. We talk about other systems and streams. I'd love to do even more, and quite frankly, the support from viewers like yourself is what helps us, pushes us to keep doing this and keeping this going. And of course, the incredible support of our Patreon. And this is the moment where I ask you to, if you're enjoying these streams and you want to show your support for us and the channel, you want to talk about these with some like-minded folks and individuals, why don't you go ahead and head over to patreon.com/knightsoflastcall and sign up today. We'll get you in there, and you can start talking about Pathfinder 2. We can start talking about your favorite role-playing game system. Maybe it's D&D. We don't cover a lot of D&D on this channel, but we have a pretty significant portion of people who I'm sure would love to talk to you about D&D. But if you're really interested in some of these other games that we've talked about, we just talked about horror. We talked about Call of Cthulhu. We talked about Dread. We've done streams on Root, Legend of the Five Rings, Blaze in the Dark. If you want to talk RPGs, you need to sign up for the Patreon. Hey, we got a super chat. Damian Williams is in the house. He says, fudging. And why is it good? And how often should you? I think if you have the right game system for it, I mean, there's such a thing as a legal fudge. I just don't like the disingenuousness of where people think they're playing a real game, and their GM is betraying them. But I know you're just teasing. Maybe a little bit of a tease at No Nat there today. Yeah, just paying $2 to mess with me, exactly. John is here. Howdy, John. You may notice that folks like John and Damien have blue, really cool, awesome badges next to their names, and that's because they're members of our YouTube channel as well as being patrons. that gives you exclusive access to loyalty badges and really cool emojis. So check that out maybe too as well. Ooh, Cipher system is very cool. Actually, we got Numenera. We got Numenera right here. Actually, I kickstarted Numenera. I think my name is in here somewhere. I've always been a big fan of Monty Cook games. I love him. I love Bruce Cordell. I love Sean K. Reynolds. All those like WotC 3E era guys. I just love them. Am I the only one who fudges pro player? Like, if a blind roll is missed by 1 or 2, ooh, fine, you can have it. Well, Power of Doi, in this group, yeah, maybe. Because number one, I don't do blind rolls. And number 2, if you're going to give it to him anyways, why'd you roll the die? DK made it for the stream. Welcome, DK. So anyways, good to have you, DK. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to do a Cypher stream there, Damien, on Tuesday. But look, as I said before, if you're interested in showing your support, check out our Patreon or drop us a super chat or a tip with your questions, or if there's something that you specifically want to address on the stream. I'd love to be able to answer your question. And super chats and tips are certainly the best way to get my attention, especially once on streams like today, where I'm going to be looking at at Archives of Nethys and all that other stuff. So, all right, well, let's get into it. What's up? We got Pumpkin in the house. We got Henry in the house. Hey, Henry. KC is here. Yeah. Jason B is in the house.
Jason B tipped $10. No need to fudge. We build the fudge right into the APs for you.
This is true. Pathfinder 2 is an interesting game system because there's a lot of things in that game system where it's already pretty well stacked in the PC's favor. You really don't need to give them much more than what they're already getting. If anything, just increase the rate at which you hand out hero points, and if you're handing out a couple of hero points per player per session, there should never be a reason for you to have to fudge in Pathfinder 2. All right, so today we are going to get started with the Acrobat. So last time we covered all 22 multi-class archetype from Alchemist to Wizard, and sort of a reminder here, this is sort of our baseline. Now, there was some people complaining, mostly I think we got complaints that the Ranger was too low and that the Gunslinger was too high. I feel like that was the sort of main feedback off of the archetypes. I think everybody else kind of mostly agreed with everything else. I mean, obviously no one's ever going to 100% agree, but if there were two that potentially needed revisiting, people thought I was overly harsh to the Ranger, and people thought that I was overly generous to the Gunslinger. So just something to keep in mind, but we're kind of working on the spectrum here from S tier, Champion, Psychic, Thaumaturge. And I should remind you that in my nomenclature, obviously, if you're car op, if you're OP, if you're building the character for biggest bang for your buck, S tier is great. But from my point of view, S tier is potentially problematic because it's so good, it's so powerful, it can eat into the design space of where other archetypes could be. It can shift the game in a direction that you don't want to go. It could push the game towards certain broken combinations that make some of these other archetypes, which are already maybe a little underpowered, feel even more underpowered when you're in competition with some of these archetypes. And so in particular, I think the Champion, the Psychic, and the Thaumaturge all seem like they are potentially problematic. Psychic in particular, my God. Yeah, I thought Ranger was awful, and I also feel like it didn't do anything, but that's the way it is. All right, so today we're going to start with their other archetypes. Now, one of the first things that we're going to have to do when we pick an archetype is we're going to have to make a decision. Is this a mechanical archetype designed to really give you access to new abilities that you're expected to use in combat and in sort of the normal course of a Pathfinder 2 adventure. It doesn't have to necessarily be always combat, but think of like a Pathfinder 2 adventure. Some of these archetypes we are going to classify as flavor. And this is the idea that they aren't particularly designed around being a mechanically strong option for you in the context of the game. They're more to provide you with a sense of flavor, and I don't want to judge those archetypes unfairly. So here's our first one, Archetype. It's a level 2 dedication feat, and you've trained your body to perform incredible, seemingly superhuman feats of grace. You move in ways that leave your opponents caught off guard and fumbling for a response, turning every fight into performance art. You need to be trained in acrobatics. So here we go. We're starting off with the Acrobat. All the way at the bottom because Photoshop is awesome. Whoa. Look at that. There we go. Thank you, Photoshop. All right. So we're working on the Acrobat today. And there we go. All right, perfect. Acrobat. So the dedication. So already. So there's a tier of archetypes that we're going to see repeated. Where the dedication pumps you to expert. And this is one of them. So the Acrobat dedication requires acrobatics, and then you become an expert in acrobatics. Hey, GM Scott, glad to see you. GM Scott, also a hero member, tier member of our Patreon, and a supporter with that sexy red badge. Good to see you, buddy. So already you get an early bump into expert in acrobatics, and you also get a free raise to master, and you get a free raise to legendary. So for one class feat or free archetype feat, this is an incredible dedication feat. Well worth it. You also get an additional benefit, which is if you critically succeed to tumble through an enemy space, you don't treat that space as difficult terrain. So potentially you're saving yourself, 5 or 10 feet of movement. But generally speaking, being able to get expert a little bit early, getting 1, 2, 3 skill improvements automatically. I mean, anybody who's using acrobatics or some sort of dexterous-based class, I think it's incredible. I think it's amazing. We also get access to a handful of feats. So they go all the way from level 4 up to level 10. So let's take a look at those feats. You get Contortionist, which lets you get the quick, so it's a feat, but you're going to get the quick squeeze skill feat. So you're trading a class feat for a quick squeeze feat. And then if you're a master, you could squeeze at full speed. And whenever you successfully escape, which again is from a grapple or a grab, a plus grab, the creature you escape from becomes flat-footed against the next attack you make it before the end of your next turn. So if a creature grabs you, you can escape. And then let's say you're some sort of rogue or creature that benefits. I mean, everybody benefits from their opponent being flat-footed, but let's say you're a rogue or somebody who gets some sort of, sneak attack or something, precision damage. That's incredible. So you're trading a feat for a feat. You also get an additional benefit, and you get an additional benefit. So already, this seems like this is a very legitimate feat. And it's the only level 4 feat. So if you took acrobatic dedication at 2, you're going to take contortionist at 4. And then at level 6, we have an option, which is dodge away, which is a reaction. Always good to see. Wish the game had more of these. If you're the target of a melee attack and you're not flat-footed, you can use your momentum and evade an attack. You get a +1 circumstance bonus to your AC. So that's the same thing that we get from cover and raising a shield. So that's nice. And if the attack misses you, you can step after you strike. If you're a master, you can move 10 feet on this step. Wow. And this is really powerful for more than reasons than just the +1 bonus to the AC, which is pretty cool. It's the fact that if a creature is just within reach of you, let's say a standard reach is 5 feet, and they attack you with their first attack, and miss because of your dodge away, and now you step. Now, in order to attack you again, they'd have to move. And maybe they don't, maybe they only have one action left. Maybe they stride, they use a stride action to get to you. They only have 2 actions left. They use their first attack to attack, second action to attack you. And now they have their third action, which they were going to use to attack you again, but you just stepped away, possibly 10 feet. So now they can't, because if they take an action to move next to you, they're out of actions. This is incredible. Really good stuff. Okay, so next, at level 7, you might say, well, level 7? There's class feats at level 7? No. This is actually a skill feat. So this archetype actually grants you skill feats as well, which you could take with your skill feats that you get. And of course, if you're a rogue or whoever, you're going to have a lot of skill feats. Mass and muscles are meaningless when you leap. Only grace and balance matters. You can use acrobatics instead of athletics if you're doing a high jump or a long jump check. I love this. This is a fantastic great way to get a lot of mileage out of your acrobatics. For a skill feat, I think this is fantastic. Fantastic stuff, honestly. Again, letting you, a high dex character who's invested heavily into your acrobatics, be able to, jump and leap around like we kind of envision you would. But the game mechanics don't really support that, because athletics is the skill that is involved with jumping, and it involves your strength. But this kind of basically swaps that, not to acrobatics, and obviously over to dex. Hey, Rick Sherman, good to see you, buddy. Glad you're here. So we got a couple more feats. Tumbling Strike. It's a flourish. It's a move. And you have to be adjacent to an enemy. It's 1 action. So you can only do this once a turn. You make an acrobatics check against the reflexed DC of an enemy next to you. And let's see. If you critically succeed, you get to move through their space to the other side of them. It does not trigger any reactions. You can't move further than your speed, and you have to end adjacent to the enemy. So you basically move to the other side of the enemy. And then after the move, you make a melee strike against the enemy whose space you just moved through, and they're flat-footed. So you get to move without provoking attack of opportunity through their space, and then you get to make an attack against them, and they're flat-footed. That's on a crit. On a success, you do all of that, but they're not flat-footed, which is still pretty good. If you fail, the failure condition is you don't get to move, but you don't throw your action away because you could still strike. So the fail case for this is that you just spent an action to attack. And then the critical failure is literally that you threw your action away. But again, this seems fantastic. Great for positioning, great for a tactical game. If there's a creature, maybe a large creature, or even a medium creature in some of those Pathfinder APs, who's really, really bottled themselves up into a defensive position so you can't get to the other side of them, you just tumbling strike right through them. And you can not only get to move to the other side of them, but then you also get your action back to attack, potentially making it a flat-footed attack. This is fantastic. And lastly, Tumbling Opportunist, a free action. Boy, gee, gotta love that, right? In terms of action economy. Frequency is once per minute. So basically, once per fight. If your most recent action was to tumble through, or you used your tumbling strike. Remember, tumbling through is one of the generic uses of acrobatics, which lets you move through other people's squares. Other people's spaces. But if you just moved through, or you just use tumbling strike, either way, basically you just pass through an enemy space, you get a burst of stamina to perform a breathtaking feat of acrobatics as you move through a foe's space, leaving your foe lying flat on their back. You can trip the enemy whose space you move through. You can use acrobatics instead of athletics for this check. Wow. So imagine using Tumbling Strike, 1 action. You get a success. You move through their space. You're on the other side of them. You make a trip attempt for free. It gets to use your really highly bumped acrobatics instead of your athletics, which is going to probably suck. They're now prone. Now you get to make the strike. So now the person is just in just a horrible situation. This is fantastic. What a fantastic, awesome, amazing This is to me as a solid A. I don't see anything here that seems like it is cheesy or broken. This to me is super solid. This archetype is just what you want out of this. This is what this archetype should be. Yeah, exactly. William Brandis, Aaron Smith in the chat. This is what archetype should be, and I can't disagree. I mean, this is incredible. And you know, and the other thing too is, I mean, like, you know, you pick up dedication at level 2, and you're pretty stoked about this. You're gonna, you know, you get immediate benefits from this. Your acrobatics, which is trained, boom, you know, goes to expert. You immediately get this critical success to tumble through bonus, right? You don't treat the enemies as difficult terrain. This is just amazing. And then at level 4, you pick up contortionist. Admittedly, this is probably the quote unquote weakest of the feats, but I think being able to escape and make them flat-footed is a pretty cool ability. Then you get dodge away at 6. If you want graceful leaper as a skill feat at 7, you can. You get tumbling strike at 8, and then you finish it up with tumbling opportunist at 10. I mean, you're not really making any hard decisions here because it's literally just boom, 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 boom. But wow, this is a fantastic archetype. I think this is fantastic. I think this is great. I mean, yeah, with the number of plus grabs in the game, this is definitely not. I mean, no, I'm not saying it's a bad feat, there, Smith. I'm just saying it's probably the most niche, and I still think it's good. And I am not at all ashamed about this. I don't feel bad about taking this dedication feat, not in the slightest. I'm actually kind of stoked about this because it's just going to keep paying me off as we keep going through the game. Every time I see my acrobatics just go up 1 tier, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, the acrobatics dedication. That's sweet. And to gain additional benefits like this, it's incredible. I love it. This is fantastic. So, I know we're going to be disappointed as we continue to move through these, but this one is we're off to an exciting start. So let's see what the chat is saying here. Sorry if I missed you. GM Scott was looking at the previous results. Haven't finished, but I can't say anything surprising you. Yes, exactly. Dodge away is very, very cool. Amazing. I love it. I also agree here with Smith, who says, I wish reactions like this were more baseline so it actually make the game feel more tactical instead of buried away inside of an archetype. You know, I'm not going to go off on that tangent, but it's kind of like, yeah, why isn't this just something that the rogue could do? Like, where, you know, why isn't this something that the character classes could just do? Yeah, this is incredible. I also agree with GM Scott. I love this. Going back to what we were talking about with the fail state. More actions need this fail state where you only waste your actions on a critical fail. This is fantastic. Exactly. Don Pokey said it. I think Don Pokey said it best here. So this is fantastic. Yeah, this is great. All right. Well, for Lone Knight, I mean, it's kind of more like, let's be honest, let's be realistic with ourselves. Like, this isn't, a lot of this stuff in this acrobat archetype isn't really like about an acrobat. A lot of this stuff is sort of more like a finesse parkour fighter. Like, this isn't like acrobatics, like when we think about like an acrobat, like at the circus, right? But anyways, well, Grim, happy to have you. Glad that you're here at the stream, and love that you fell in love with our content last night after binging our class tier list. Well, Grim, if you enjoyed that, we have something like, I don't even know, 85 hours of doing all of the spells as well. So it's pretty brutal. All right, next one, Aldori Duelist. So you need to be trained in Aldori dueling schools, Aldor being one of the principal regions of Golarion. You have sworn the Aldori sword pack and study the art of Aldori dueling, a famed school of bladecraft which has been passed down for over a millennium from the teachings of Baron Syrian Aldori. One day, you hope to demonstrate your skill at swordplay in order to become acknowledged as a true sword lord. And this has the uncommon tag, a trait, because this is pretty much tied to the world. Obviously, if you were not playing in Golarion or you weren't playing in an part of the world, like I would not allow someone in my Quest for the Frozen Flame game to take the Aldori duelist archetype because you need to be kind of from Aldor. Just as a reminder here, the Aldori dueling school is an advanced weapon, so you're going to need some sort of specialized training to use that. It's a D8 weapon, slashing, but it has finesse and it's versatile. So it's like a rapier, but worse. It gave up, or no, maybe rapiers are D6. I can't remember, but it has versatile piercing instead of deadly. But either way, maybe it's a better longsword, right? Okay, one-handed fin. Rapier is D6. Okay, so yeah, so you are basically making the advance to gain finesse on this. So it's a long sword with finesse. Okay. Which, I guess makes kind of sense from a duelist weapon, I guess. Okay, so in order to gain access to this, you have to be from the Broken Lands region. So you need to be trained already in the dueling swords, so you do have to have training in there. So this isn't going to give it to you. You become trained in your choice of acrobatics or athletics and in dueling lore. And if you were already trained, you become an expert instead. Okay, that's pretty cool. But notice, we don't get any sort of scaling here. It's just a one-time benefit. Whenever your proficiency rank in any weapon increases to expert or beyond, you also gain that new proficiency rank with Aldori dueling school swords, and you gain access to Aldori dueling swords, which is kind of strange because you need to be trained in them, but now you apparently gain access to them. So this basically allows you to progress, to master, or if you're a fighter, to legendary with these swords, which aren't really all that special. All right. So this dedication feat to me is a little ho-hum and boring. But let's see what you gain. At level 4, we get to pick one of two feats. We get the Aldori Parry, which is basically similar to Parry, where basically you can use an action to raise your shield, but it's a +2 circumstance bonus to AC, just like raising a shield, but you don't need a shield. You have your Aldori dueling school. By the way, you have to be wielding an Aldori school and have your other hand or hands free. So very similar to the parry options as well. Rain Hunter says best on a gunslinger, I think, which is kind of sad. But not that I mind this type of stuff. Duelist Edge, you roll initiative and you can observe at least one opponent. You hone your reactions through time through duels and learn to draw your weapon seamlessly. You get a +2 circumstance bonus to the triggering initiative roll, and you can immediately interact to draw your Aldori dueling sword. Okay, that's kind of cool. I mean, I know that in like a standard adventure, you're going to have your weapon out anyways. But, having played Legend of the Five Rings and, seeing the power of the Iaijutsu techniques, the katas, because they allow you to draw your weapon and strike in the same turn, it's pretty cool. I kind of like this. I think that's fun. It's more flavorful than mechanical. At level 6, we get two options. The Aldori Riposte, which is a reaction, and this is very similar to what we see in the Swashbuckler line, which is you have to have taken the parry, they have to critically fail a strike against you, and then you can make a strike or a disarm. So nothing here that we haven't seen from like the Swashbuckler, but the Swashbuckler I think gets riposte at level 8 or 10, maybe. I could be wrong about that, but you get it at level 6, and to be fair, I mean, a lot of people aren't critically failing strikes against you, but it's a cool reaction nonetheless. Won't come up often, but when it does, you'll feel pretty cool. Unnerving prowess. If you critically succeed at a strike or a disarm, and it's a free action, you gotta love that. I'm gonna guess you're gonna get demoralized. Yep, you attempt to demoralize your target. So I mean, it's a cool line, right? I mean, we can imagine how this plays out. The problem is, the truth is, it doesn't really happen this often, right? Because a lot of things have to go right. But you could imagine a situation where, you're walking around, your sword's not even drawn, and then someone attacks you, and you roll initiative, but you draw your blade quickly and seamlessly as they lunge in to attack you, right? You attack, you raise your sword in a parry, then they attack you, they critically fail, you react, you make a melee strike against them, or disarm them, and then at the same time you demoralize them because they're so shocked at your amazing and incredible skill. It's cool. I mean, the odds of that happening are probably like 1 in 1,000. But it would be cool if it happened, though. Just the odds of it happening are pretty low. And then you don't get anything at 8. But of course, you've got double 4s and double 6s. And then at level 10, you get the saving slash, another reaction. An opponent critically hits you with a melee attack. Now, this is more likely to happen. You quickly whirl your blade, trying to deflect enough momentum to avoid the worst attack. Attempt a DC 16 flat check. If you succeed, it's a normal hit instead of a critical hit. So it's basically a form of a fortification. It's a 25% chance to avoid a critical hit. It's not the worst thing in the world. It is a reaction. It's just, it is unfortunate that it is unfortunate that it's only 25% that it would avoid it. But I mean, when that does happen, you're going to feel great. But it's kind of like one of those really weird feats because you're like, you're maybe kind of counting on it, but it's only going to happen, 1 in 4 chances. So you get critically hit in 25% of the time, and you have to have a reaction up. So I don't know. Well, I guess the first question is, and I'm gonna judge the group here. So for something like a regional archetype, okay, like the Aldori duelist, is this mechanical, or is this a flavor type class? Right, I think that's something as a group, as a community, that we need to decide. I mean, overall, I don't think this archetype is that bad. I mean, I think it's kind of fun. It feels to me very like if I was playing a sort of a Three Musketeer, Paris, 1600s, rapiers, fencing, dueling, political. Like, this feels very cool to me. And I dig it. I really do dig it. And I think there's a lot of flavor here. I don't know how useful a lot of these abilities would be in your standard campaign of Pathfinder 2. So, I mean, I do listen. The dueling sword does kind of suck. I got to admit. I think advanced weapons in general are just some of them are just busted beyond all belief, flick mace, and the rest of them are just so disappointing at all. Like, if you ask me, what should the Aldori dueling school sword should have been? It should have been like a long sword rapier, right? Like a D8, D10 deadly or something like that. Or like, I don't know, D10, or like D8, yeah, like D8, D10 deadly. I think that would have been awesome. Like, and then boom, right through the heart with like critical, like that's awesome. Like, that's incredible. That's amazing. All right, so it looks like 71% of you said that this is a flavor class, and I am going to agree with you. I do think that this is a flavor class, for sure. Yeah, Damien, I think the Aldori dueling sword should be finesse, D8, piercing, deadly, D10. Oh yeah, GM Scott, make it fatal. That would be awesome. Like, to me, Here's why. Because, and I'm just going to go, I know we're going to get, this is why things take for us forever. Because the fantasy, the emulation, the mental image that I have of the rapier, or specifically like this dueling sword. I mean, we think of the rapier, but this is supposed to be like the dueling sword, right? When I think of like, and if you've ever watched any sort of dueling movie, musketeer movie, okay, the rapier, it's like, it like it nicks you. It just cuts you. It's this tiny little point, but it's this long, slender blade. Like literally, people will duel to first blood because you don't duel to first blood with axes, because that's not a precision weapon. This is the kind of weapon that just it stabs you in the arm and you're fine. It stabs you in the other arm, you're fine. But then it makes that lunging thrust and it just boom gets in there and hits your heart, and you're like, yeah, that felt fatal. That felt like a lance through the heart. That to me is pretty cool. I'd love to see that these things be like deadly. The fact that this weapon isn't deadly or even better, fatal, is kind of disappointing to me. All right. So I don't know. I kind of like what this class is doing from a flavor perspective. It feels like a cool swashbuckling class. Again, this might be my Legend of the Five Rings bias coming in here, but I really like that this duelist edge. I love that you can get a bonus to your initiative, and you get to draw your sword for free in initiative. I love that. Do I think that this is A? No, but I think it's a solid B for flavor. I think we can all agree to that. I don't know. I think it's fun. All right. Let's see what people say. That's true. It doesn't have it. Yeah. Yeah, I understand. I saw what people were saying in the chat and I am aware that there's like a normal duelist, and I know that a lot of these things from like the World Guide got reprinted in the APG. And so to answer your question, Unfortunate Pumpkin, I think a lot of these classes will get reprinted as just the baseline with not uncommon, and then we can kind of rate those ones mechanically. Okay. Speaking of flavor, we've got Alkenstar Agent, and maybe it's all right, Alkenstar Agent. This is from an adventure, probably Outlaws of Alkenstar. You're trained in at least one firearm. Trained in deception. Outwardly dashing outlaws or silent deadly bravos, these masters of combat and culture must hone a variety of skills to serve as secret agents and informants for the leader of Alkenstar, Grand Duchess Trieta Ricea. All right. Well, it's a lot of stuff here. So this has a shitload of feats. Holy crap. All right. Oh, some of them are just reprints. Okay. Yeah, Power. That's a great point. Normally, actually, during the spells thing, we would always say, spoiler alert. All right. So, spoiler alert for Alkenstar, Agents of Alkenstar, or Outlaws of Alkenstar. All right. So, this feat may contain spoilers. So, spoilers. All right. So, you have to be trained in Fireball, and you have to be initiated by the Grand Duchess or one of her agents. KC, I completely agree with you. This is definitely a flavor archetype, right? You put on the persona of a rough and tumble outlaw, but your real goals are to report threats back to Alkenstar back on the Grand Duchess. You become an expert in deception, straight up. Oh, you have to be trained. And trained in your choice of underworld lore or legal lore. If you are already trained in underworld lore or legal lore, you become an expert, and you gain the Lie to Me skill feat. Again, this is okay. I like that you get the upgrade from trained to expert early. Lie to Me is not the best skill feat, but you're gaining training in some lore. It doesn't get that scaling. I do like that scaling, but this feels okay. It's not the best dedication feat, but it feels okay. It's not great, but it's okay. Level 4, we get three options. One is just quick draw, normally from the Ranger, the Rogue, and the Gunslinger, but they can get quick draw. That's pretty cool. That's nice. I like quick draw. I think it's a cool feat. We get Plant Evidence, which is a Rogue. And this is totally a flavor option. I mean, I get that it's mechanical, but let's be honest with ourselves. It's really more of a flavor thing. You can put a single item that you're holding of light or negligible bulk onto a person with a thievery check against their perception DC. And I should also point out that for everybody out there who claimed that 4th edition was too gamist, and that's why you like Pathfinder 2, screw you. Are you telling me that, like, what would we do if we were playing the game and I didn't have plant evidence and I said, hey, GM, we're at the party, right? And I have that note from the foreign enemy that implicates this person as being an agent. Can I plant this onto the person secretly? Can I put this into their bag? And the GM goes, nope, you don't have plant evidence. You would just riot. Like, this shouldn't be a feat. This shouldn't be a power. This shouldn't be anything. So this is so dumb. Again, this is, to me, I get why it's here, but this is terrible. And this is a lot of times why I say in these games, feats don't tell you what you can do. They just list hundreds of things that you can't do. Because feats like this, I'm going off on a tangent here, but feats like this, plant evidence, imply that the only things that you can do with thievery are palm an object, steal, disable device, pick a lock. That's it. These four, you can only palm an object, steal, disable device, and pick a lock. And that's it. And if you're not doing one of those 4 things, this feat implies that you are violating the nature of the game. So Rain Hunter says, in my opinion, feats like these make it a guarantee that you can do it, but they don't mean that you can't do it without the feat, just that it's not guaranteed. What are you talking about? You have to succeed at a thievery check. So it's definitely not guaranteed. So anyways, but also too, like you say, oh, I would totally so would you totally let your player quick draw? Would you totally let your player power attack or megaton strike? Would you totally let your barbarian whirlwind strike? Would you totally let your barbarian fling ally? Would you totally let your fighter dual slice or your ranger hunted shot if they didn't have that feat? My guess is no. My guess is you would not. So anyways, this is a very slippery slope, and it shouldn't be slippery. They should have done the math. And feats like this, I think, are horrific and horrible. I think they're bad for the game. I think they confuse game masters because they are playing the game the way that they imagine that you probably should play the game. And they go, oh, thievery, it can do a lot of different stuff. Skills favored by thieves and miscreants. And they go, oh, these are kind of just suggestions. But then things like this come along and they go, oh, maybe it's not a suggestion. Maybe this is literally the only things that you can do with the thievery skill. And if you want to be able to do anything else with the thievery skill, you need a mechanical feat in order to do it. Plant evidence and plant evidence in combat may be different things. I mean, sure, but nothing about this implies that you can or can't do it in combat. It just says thievery check against a perception DC. Anyways, I think this is horrible. What is our other one? Loose cannon. Your unpredictable gunfire often catches enemies off guard or hits unprotected areas. You make a ranged strike with a firearm against a creature that you have not attacked this turn. You get a circumstance bonus to damage on this strike. Circumstance bonus to damage is nice. That's actually kind of one of the harder ones to get. Equal to the number of your damage dice. And it gains the following failure effect. Failure. The firearm misfires, but it doesn't cause the other critical failure effects listed below. On a critical failure, it misfires and explodes, and it becomes broken, and it explodes in a 20-foot burst. That's a absolutely huge explosion. That is an incredibly huge explosion. And it deals the normal weapon damage. So we're talking about like a D6 or like 2D6. If you have the striking rune. What a weird feat. So you're basically gaining up, 1 or 2 points of damage, 3 points of damage bonus. But if you fail, your gun misfires. So if you miss, your gun misfires. I don't even know why this doesn't even make sense to me from a simulationist. Yeah, that is a fireball size area. Do you want to crit fail this? Yeah, kind of, Don Pokey. You kind of do. By the way, I love the idea that when you critically fail, it becomes, you turn your weapon strike into a fireball. But you're like, wait a second. Does that mean I can just turn my weapon into a fireball? Like, if I do something to it? And it's like, no. Only when you critically failure. Like, wait a second. Wait, what? No, I want my weapon to just be a fireball, please. That would be awesome. I just want to do this all the time. Yeah. You hit. You're like, damn it. No, I want the critical failure. Roll again. Come on, critical failure. Come on, hero points. Let's go through. Like, what? When the critical failure is the better option. Plus, I don't even understand this feat. Your unpredictable gunfire hits them in unprotected areas. Well, isn't that what we're always trying to do? Yeah, it's just so. This is very silly. Let's see. Going back to what we were talking about before, Power Doy said, yeah, feats like these are weird ones. Because in your earlier days, you had someone who wanted to leap at a flying enemy and strike it out of the air. And it's like, well, the barbarian has a feat to do that. So no. And it's like, do you have a barbarian in your party? Is anyone planning on being a barbarian in your party? Was anyone ever going to take that feat? But then you can feel trapped. Okay. And I've said on this channel before that sometimes I feel trapped by Pathfinder 2. And what Power of Doy is saying here, and what feats like loose cannons, exploding gun, or plant evidence, those are examples of why I sometimes feel trapped. Sometimes by the game. And that's kind of the problem. And William Brandis kind of also highlights a problem, right? So the expectation now is that the GM has an encyclopedic knowledge of every single feat in the game. So, because we've all been there before, right? Like where the GM allows you to do something and then like 4 levels later, and like maybe somebody's been doing it. And then like 4 levels later, you realize that, I don't know, the swashbuckler at level 12 can take a feat that gives them that ability. And you're like, oh, yeah, no, you've been doing that for free since level 6. So I don't know. Oops, I guess you were busted. I don't know. I guess get wrecked, swashbucklers. So, anyways, yeah, that's a very thoroughly exploded gun. All right, so let's keep going here. Sorry, we're getting distracted. Reactive Pursuit. This comes from a couple different archetypes. An adjacent foe moves away from you, and you can reach at least one space adjacent to that with a single stride action. You keep pace, so this is just like the Barbarian. You stride to keep your movement next to them. Your move does not trigger reactions from the triggering enemy, and you can burrow, climb, or spell. I like this reaction. I think level 6 is kind of high for it, but I like these kind of reactions. If someone's trying to outpace you or outdistance you, you get free movement with your reaction. I think that's pretty good. You get running reload. So assuming for some odd reason that you weren't a gunslinger and you didn't have this ability, Rangers get this too for crossbow. Pretty much a must-have if you are using a crossbow or a gun. So kind of a feat tax. We get a skill feat to prepare papers. You are, oh God, you need to be a master in society. You are practiced at creating forgeries that establish your outlaw credentials or augment your legal authority. You can create a forgery as an exploration activity. It takes you about 1 hour per page of the document that you are forging. This is only 10 minutes per page if you are legendary. Normally it is downtime, which can take a day or even a week. Outlaw credentials is also something that I thought was a little bit silly there, Shadram. So this changes something from a downtime action to an exploration action. That's pretty good, London. For the forgery. This is the most boring feat I have ever heard. It's pretty close. Does it do something? Yeah, I mean, mechanically it does. Right now you can do it. And I guess what I think the real issue here is that, like, yes, this is doing something. This is letting you take your forgery from downtime to exploration, and that is something. That is definitely something. But most of the time, I'm promising you, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter because most GMs are going to hand wave that anyways, and you're going to be like, "Hey, we need to get into the party. We need to show that we're Imperial, agents of whoever." And then the person making the forgeries goes, "Okay, I'll make some forgeries." And the GM goes, "Okay, cool. You've got create a forgery as an exploration activity using a society check." You go, "Yeah, of course, obviously." And then you fill it out, and you just do it. The fact that you could be like, I could do it, and here's what would happen. Yeah, okay, you don't have this feat. You don't have prepare papers. And the party needs to create fake credentials that they are actually members of a different, Imperial house, so that they can get access to a secret warehouse, so they can interdict, on an illegal shipment of special gunpowder that's being shipped in, right? Here's what would happen if you didn't have this feat. Okay, so we need to do this. All right. Well, here's what we're going to do, guys. I am pretty good at society. What I'm going to do is I'm going to forge us some fake documents. I'm going to show that we're members of some inspection house and that we have to have legal. And everyone's like, "Oh, that's a great idea." And the GM goes, "Yeah, that's a great idea. Make a society check." Here's how that goes if you have prepare papers. Okay, guys, we need to get in there somehow. Hey, I've got an idea. I'm really good at society. Also, I have prepare papers. So I can make a society check and we can forge these papers, and it'll probably only actually take me a couple hours. And the party goes, "Great, that's awesome." The GM says, "Yeah, that sounds great. Make a society check." And see, nothing happened. Nothing. There was no difference. It was just no difference. It just didn't even matter. So this feat doesn't like, it does something, but it doesn't do anything. Flash your badge. You make a fearsome show of your authority. Roll intimidation checks to demoralize in a cone. The police badge ripples outward like a cone of cold. I love the idea that if I'm flashing my badge, but if the person is like in front of me, they are just going to get hit by the authority of my badge. But if they're like just off to the left or the right of me, they're just totally fine. Like the wave of my authority just ripples past them. It only hits them when they're far back. This is so stupid. Oh, by the way, if the target hasn't broken the law, then the result of our check, is 1 degree worse than what we rolled. I'm innocent. Okay. You are immune to my effect. This is... Oh, it does... Sam says, just close your eyes. It has the visual trait. It's like, shut your eyes, Marion. If you can't see it, it can't affect you. And you're just sitting there. I can't see your badge. I don't know it's there. Sorry, I'm not afraid. Sorry, it could be a badge. It could be a banana. I'll never know. Oh boy, this is this is a rough one, people. And by the way, Aldori Duelist came out in the World Book, which is an early Pathfinder 2 book. This came out in Outlaws of Alkenstar. So this is new stuff. This is the refined product that we are dealing with here. So that's horrible. Everything about that is horrible. The effect is cool. What the fuck does that have to do with flashing a badge? All right, Snapshot. It's a ranger feat, but you get it at level 10. You've learned to react to with a ranged weapon when a creature is in close quarters. You can use a reaction that normally allows you to make a melee weapon strike using your ranged weapon strike. They have to be adjacent and has 5-foot reach. So you can use your reactions with your ranged weapon. Okay. Sure. Makes you better with the gun, I guess. If you have a reaction, which you may not, like an attack of opportunity. I don't love this. There's instances where this could obviously be useful. And then lastly, at level, so that's it, by the way. We've got a couple here at 6. And then we've got a skill feat at 7, which is horrible. We get this flash your badge or snapshot. And then we get nothing for 8 levels. And then we get instant opening, which is also a rogue ability. It's one action. You make a rude gesture. You flick them off. Pathfinder 2, people. Epic, Lord of the Rings style comment. Screw you. Your mother smells of elderberries. Choose a third target within 30 feet, and it's flat-footed against your attacks till the end of the turn. They could do nothing. Your power of flicking them off is too powerful. If they're 31 feet away, immune. Immune to your rude attempts. If they're on the far side of a large room, I can barely notice you. Not only am I immune to your rude gesture, I'm also immune to your AoE cone fearsome badge. But if once I'm within 30 feet, I am powerless. Obviously, this is pretty okay. But to be 18th level and get this is pretty deep. So this is weird. The description of the dedication was really cool. But what the hell happened here? I was thinking we were going to get some sort of awesome James Bond secret agent thing. Instead, we get a bunch of half-baked horrible feats, which some of that isn't the Archetype's fault. Some of those are reprints from other horrible feats, but it's not enough. I'm going to give it a D. All right. So, right, there's clearly now a precedence, DK, that 35 feet is 30 feet is the limit for visual acuity. Yeah, I mean, Don Pokey, we're not even going to get into the fact that, like, there's a million other easier ways to get someone flat-footed at this level. I don't know why, but I'm imagining the protagonist yelling out the names of these feats as he uses them, and I'm wheezing. You know what it's like? It's like Austin Powers. You know, Austin Powers movie with Mike Myers where he's, like, fighting the mooks, the minions, and he's like, judo chop, right? It's like the same thing, except you're an Alkenstar agent. So you're just coming in here and you're just like, you know, you parkour in like from The Office. You're like parkour, and then you're just like flash badge, instant opening, like you're summoning a Tyrannosaur from Power Rangers. Anyways, okay. Alter Ego, boy, they just love this. They just love some just weird stuff with these archetypes, huh? By the way, just a reminder here as we hit the 8 o'clock hour, if you're enjoying this content and you want to see more of it, make sure to like and subscribe, click the bell to be notified when we go live. And if you're enjoying this content, feel free to show your support. Tips and super chats are appreciated. I'd love to be able to give you a shout out. And of course, if you want to be part of these conversations 24/7, check us out, patreon.com/Knights of Last Call. We are the largest Pathfinder 2 focused Patreon in existence in the world, over 250 members, constantly playing Pathfinder 2, constantly playing other games, from Call of Cthulhu to Wicked Ones to Legend of the Five Rings to Versus Darkness. We have a variety, a huge amount of games that are being played, and of course, constant conversations with really smart and intelligent folks. The Patreon is, in my opinion, the heart of this channel, and the Discord, the community that you'll become a part of, is well worth the $5 a month that you'll pay. So definitely check it out. All right, Alter Ego is from Dark Archive. Okay. So it's not just like you literally have latent supernatural talents to become it sounds like this is kind of like a faceless one, right? Like from, a faceless man from Game of Thrones. Sort of. Wow, it's a long dedication feat, people. All right. You make yourself into a living mirror, becoming a double of someone unremarkable. Whatever that means. What if they're remarkable? By the way, you need to be trained in deception and stealth. You slip into the role that you can get past the... Okay, wait a second. You become an expert in deception, and you get the assume a role activity. If you've spent at least 1 hour studying a creature whose role you intend to copy and have done so within the last 3 days, and this could include meeting and learning about them, tailing and spying on someone, using magic, etc. Effect. You quickly and accurately learn how to do mundane jobs, or at least copy the movements to appear that you do. A chosen role could take many forms, from cook, cleaner, or librarian to cult member, priest, or duke, but it's always a role and never an individual. You perform the impersonate activity to pass as a member of the role you observed and gain a +1 circumstance bonus to any deception checks you attempt in your impersonation. So I can't do that without this? So you're telling me that, like, if my rogue wanted to sneak into the Duke's castle and he was going to pretend to be one of the Duke's butlers or guards or cleaning staff, and so they spent a few days trailing the person and watching them and learning their mannerisms, and then on the time that came, they disguised themselves and impersonated them, which is an activity that you can already do with a disguise kit. And they get a +1 circumstance bonus. Is that what this feat does? Is that what this whole freaking thing is about? So making yourself into a living mirror is a +1 circumstance bonus to deception checks? What are we doing here, people? And it takes the normal amount of time. Don Pokey. William Brandis, can we just go back to the Acrobat, please? Like, it's hard to believe that these are from the same game. Isn't it? It really is. It gives a bonus and any lore skill. Yeah, I see that. By the way, you can only do this for 24 hours. After 24 hours, my memory's not that good. I can't remember what I was doing anymore. This is horrible. This is just bad. This should just be what you just do in the game. Isn't this what the game is? Isn't this just the impersonate action, but with like someone actually engaging with and playing the game? All right. Change of face. So yeah, they're really trying to go for the faceless men here. You know that for the best disguise kit, one knight needs the right disguise and the right look. You can copy both. When you impersonate, you don't need a disguise kit. Instead, simple illusions or temporary transmutations ripple over your body like mirror shards. This all sounds really cool. Lots of great flavor, providing the supplies that the kit would ordinarily do. And when you do it this way, your impersonate activity gains the occult trait. Hey, we got a super chat from Unfortunate Pumpkin. Gotta head into work. Just giving a quick shout out to my beloved Beast Gunner, since I won't be here when we get to...
GM Scott tipped $15. Sorry, can't have you up there. You're going down.
Unfortunate Pumpkin becomes becomes the hype boss, but GM Scott quickly takes them down with a $15 tip. Thank you, GM Scott, for maintaining your and asserting your authority on this channel. But yes, Unfortunate Pumpkin basically saying he wants to give a pre-shout out to Beast Gunner, which is probably what we'll make it to at the rate that we're going, because these are so bad. I keep ranting. Okay, so here's the thing: is this powerful? No, you're saving out on a disguise kit. Is it cool? Yeah, this is very flavorful, and I love the fact that you can just ripple across your face. It's not about the cost. Shadram, this is a horrible feat, but it is very cool and it's very flavorful. And the idea that my character doesn't need a disguise kit, that they can just sort of, magic themselves into being a different person is pretty cool. Fake it till you make it. When you assume a role, choose 2 skills that are associated with that role in some way. And if you're untrained, you can use your level as your proficiency bonus for that skill. And you gain a +1 circumstance bonus to skill checks with those skills as long as you remain in that role. So you basically get untrained improvisation with 2 skills, which you could just take untrained improvisation. This seems, again, pretty bad. In plain sight, when you've assumed the role, you can use deception in place of stealth if you are using the avoid notice exploration activity in an area where someone with your role wouldn't be as usual, such as impersonating a sailor or fisher when infiltrating the docks. This doesn't even really make sense, because wouldn't that just be, hey, you look like you're supposed to be here. You're not hiding. You're not stealthing. You're just blending in. That's not really avoiding notice. That's just called using your deception skill to be a normal person that is in the right location. Sound Mirror lets you cast silence on yourself once a day. And ventriloquism once a day. Exactly, John. Isn't that just deception? I think it is. So a level 6, you can pick up a level 2 silence spell and a level 1 ventriloquism spell, and you get ghost sound as an innate occult cantrip. I think this is fine. I think this is cool. I like that you gain these magical abilities. A level 2 spell, a level 1 spell, and a cantrip seems like it's okay. Here's a skill feat. If an enemy makes a disarm, escape, grapple, shove, or trip attempts, you study their movements and you muscle mimicry them with a reaction. You study the successful maneuver of an enemy and instinctively learn to do it. The next time you take the same action they did, you get +1 circumstance bonus to your athletics check, or a +2 circumstance bonus if the enemy critically succeeded. This is horrible. Your character is probably horrible at athletics. You get a +1 circumstance bonus, which is what aid gives you anyways, or better. And you lose it. And here's the kipper. This wouldn't be so bad. You lose this benefit if you don't use it before the end of your next turn. So someone disarms someone or trips someone, and then you have this turn to get a +1 bonus to do it. And you had to use a feat and a reaction to do this. Horrible. And it's not even cool. It's not even fun. There we go. 2 more. Swap Reflections, level 8. Once every 10 minutes, 2 actions. It's got every trait. Archetype, Conjuration, Extra Dimensional, Incapacitation, Occult, and Teleportation. You've learned how to use even your reflection to your advantage. Now we're getting a... What is going on here? I thought this was called Alter Ego. What is going on with us being like a mirror mage? You send your reflection to forcibly swap places with the reflection of an enemy, pulling each of you through opposite ends and switching places. The enemy must be within 120 feet, and you must be adjacent to reflective surfaces. And you must be able to see the reflection and have line of sight to it. They make a will save. And if they succeed, you swap positions with the target or arrive adjacent to your target, whichever the target prefers if they make their save. If they fail, you swap or you appear next to them for 2 actions, once every 10 minutes. I don't know. This seems there. Borrow memories. You can mind probe. Level 14. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of flavor here. Like, I like that you gain these, you know, even if it's not very powerful, it's definitely not powerful, but I think some of this, it seems a little disjointed. Like, where it starts off with, like, you can hide really well, and then, like, it starts getting to this, like, I could teleport through the mirrors. Like, wait, what the how did that happen? When did that happen? How did that happen? When did we get to there? Damien says flavor F. No. I think this is like a flavor C. Maybe D. We'll split the difference, Damien. You say F, I say C. Random guy says D, so I think it's D. All right. Yeah, CD seems fine. All right. Animal trainer. Oh, nice. Possible spoiler because this is from a adventure. Extinction Curse. So get your animal training in for the beginning part of the adventure where it's all about the circus so that, like, when you're, like, at level 6 or so, you just never do anything in the circus ever again. So let's see. It's like a Beastmaster. You get a young animal companion. Okay. But look at that. They are also trained in performance. That's very awesome. This is clearly going to be a flavor one. John, alter ego feels like something that just needed something to do with all the intern job tests. Yeah, totally, John. I mean, that's like someone's like, oh, imagine the faceless men from Game of Thrones. I'm like, okay, I'm listening. This sounds awesome. And then imagine that they could teleport through mirrors. And you're like, wait a second, what happened? How did you go from this to that so badly? Okay, so you get a young animal companion with a dedication feat. Baller. That's amazing. And it gets performance. Oh, instead of the skill. All right, so my bear doesn't have athletics. It has performance. Well, this is definitely a flavor win, but that's pretty cool. It makes sense. I'm an animal trainer. I get an animal. Cool. At level 4, constant speak with animals. And I get a +2 bonus to diplomacy checks to make requests of an animal. At level 6, I get mature trained companion. Yikes. Beastmaster gets us at 4. But this is a flavor category. Damien says this animal trainer is Beastmaster not broken. I'm starting to feel that because Beastmaster is way too good. But it becomes mature but companion. It gets performance to expert instead of one of the 3 skills. It gets the mesmerizing performance instead of its advanced maneuver. So it can fascinate people with its incredible performance. John, you would 100% take Beastmaster if you weren't training an animal to perform in the circus. This archetype is all about training an animal to be a performance animal. When you roll a success to command an animal, you get a critical success. And it's splendid, it becomes nimble or savage, and it gets performance of master, and then finally specialization. So to me, this is a fantastic flavor win. It's powerful. It's from the circus. You get an animal. It becomes powerful. It even, is it delayed to Beastmaster? Yes, but Beastmaster is broken. It gains performance. This to me is very cool. For what this is trying to do, which is a flavor, having a performance trained animal, is pretty cool. Now, Don Pokey, you're asking, Don Pokey, when you ask questions like this, it makes me think that maybe you shouldn't be playing D20, because that is what D20, especially Pathfinder 2, is all about. It's all about taking class feats. It's all about taking archetypes. It's all about saying what you can and can't do. And if some class somewhere in some book can do something, then the implication is that you can't, because you don't have that thing. John says circuses are what? Well, John, I don't know if you're familiar with Extinction Curse, but Paizo, the makers of Pathfinder 2, made an entire, not one adventure, an entire 6 adventure, level 1 to 20, entire adventure path based around the circus. But you know, hey, it's Animal Trainer. It's you know, that's good. You get an animal. You get to do the thing. Okay, we're into the APG. Archaeologist. Archaeologist, trained in perception, and you have to be trained in society or thievery. So this is our Indiana Jones academic side, okay? Adventures raid tombs for material gain, but true this belongs in a museum. But true archaeologists treasure the knowledge gained from sites. You might accomplish your goals with scholarly learning by training to overcome the tricks and traps set by. So this is I want to be Indiana Jones. That is what archaeologist is, right? Okay. So dedication. We get double expert bump, and we get a +1 flat circumstance bonus to recall knowledge about ancient history, people, or cultures. It's pretty good. Seems pretty reasonable, and yeah, I think this is pretty good. Magical, so then we get 2 feats at 4, magical scholastics and settlement scholastics, so kind of 2 sides of the same coin. We get 3 cantrips. Occult. I like the idea that we're dabbling, that we pick up a couple magics. Now, here's the deal. This is better than what you get with a normal thing. You only get 2 cantrips. This gives you 3 cantrips, but it doesn't have any other additional skill, you know, magic. I like the idea of an archaeologist getting read aura and detect magic. Guidance, you know, take it or leave it, but this feels pretty cool. I like the idea that it's magical scholastics. I like it. Settlement scholastics. Your studies open up new horizons. You become an expert in a lore skill about a specific settlement. If you are already trained in that lore skill, you become trained in the lore skill for a different settlement. Choose a single common or uncommon language, and you can take this feat multiple times. So this is trading a class feat to pick up a lore feat and a language. And it's an expert in the lore feat. So you go straight to expert. I don't mind that. I think this is cool. The idea that we're studying about some ancient, ancient city lost in the jungles or lost in the desert. I think that's fine. We also get Trap Finder from the Rogue and the Investigator, which allows us to get a +1 bonus to perception checks to find traps and against our AC. And more importantly, even if we aren't taking the searching exploration activity, we are always essentially able to make a check. So essentially, we get a free exploration activity. This feels very appropriate for our Indiana Jones archetype. Also, we can disable traps that require master in proficiency. And if we do have master in proficiency, we get a +2 bonus. These are always kind of silly because by the time you encounter a trap that needs master level proficiency, you better hope that you have master level proficiency anyways, just to be able to beat the DC. But it's kind of pointless. But again, I think that is pretty reasonable. Picking up a little bit of magical lore so we can find our cool magical artifacts, being able to learn about, ancient cities and long lost civilizations, and being able to find and remove and avoid and be on the constant lookout for traps. All things I think that feel good for our Indiana Jones, because it's called Archaeologist, but it should just be called the Indiana Jones archetype. And then we get skill feat. We get we can use society when deciphering writing, no matter what type of writing we are examining. We can also use society to identify magic when examining a magic. So this is scholastic identification. This is, again, talking where we said before about the rules in Pathfinder 2 are very strict. And if you want to deviate from those rules, usually you need some sort of feat or magical item. And decipher writing is... it's interesting. It says you can use society when deciphering writing. And then this says that the text must be in a language you can read, although the GM might allow you to decipher the text using society instead. I don't know that this does anything. What does this do? Okay. The GM might allow you to attempt to decipher text with a society. This lets you use society. Important. Okay, this is bad. All right, Archaeologist luck. If you fail a check against a trap, such as a thievery check to disable it or a reflex save to avoid it, you can re-roll the failed check, and you can do that once an hour. That's cool. That's awesome. I like that. Delay trap. We know this from the rogue. If you fail, or rather, I should say, the DC goes up by 5, but if you fail, instead of disabling it, you just delay it. I don't know why anybody ever really uses this, but it's the same thing as the rogue. And then greater magical scholistics gives you augury, locate, and non-detection. So it's kind of like another round of magical bonuses. I think this is a cool one. Probably pretty flavorful. I don't think it's it's not really a mechanical. I don't think anyone's taking this for power. But I think there's a lot of fun stuff here. I think this, to me, has a lot of cool little things that make me feel very Indiana Jones-ish. I like it. I like it at B. I think this is fun. If I was, a rogue or a fighter, because it's probably not good to put on a rogue because you kind of already can do a lot of that stuff. But if I was like an Indiana Jones fighter or something like that, or a monk archaeologist or like a wizard archaeologist, I think that'd be pretty fun. I like it. So I like that one. I think that's fun. That's a B. All right. Archer. Jesus Christ. There's so many. Archer. Okay. Let's get our Archer up here. We'll try to go a little faster here. Sam, are you saying they took Archaeologist in Abomination Vaults or Archer in Abomination Vaults? If they took Archaeologist in Abomination Vaults, yeah, that would be really fun. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Trevco, I am starting to feel that way, my friend. We may be lucky if we get through B. All right, we'll just do Archer quickly. Here's the problem with a lot of these weapon-based feats. You get trained, and it takes you up to expert, but it's never going to allow you to become better than that. So if you are a wizard, obviously if you're like a fighter, this does nothing for you because you're already proficient with a bow. So becoming an archer doesn't really do anything. So the only thing that this is for somebody who doesn't already get bow groups, like a wizard, for example. But a wizard is never going to get better than expert, and so the archer dedication will never let you get better than expert either, so you're going to be shitty with the bow. So this is a mechanical one, and I am already very, very much down on these kind of classes, in my opinion. You get assisting shot, which is normally a fighter ability. It's got the press. Does this work on rogues to give longbows? Yes, it does. Archer is a purely mechanical, very much a build-defining min-max one for certain martials. So the dedication sucks because of how they do training and accessing. So you get access to assisting shot at level 4. You get access to point-blank shot, which again, these are normally only fighter feats. So this is a great option for people who want access to certain fighter feats via the archer dedication. So this is strictly kind of, I hate to say it, but it's sort of a min-maxy type thing. Like if you were a ranger and you wanted to pick up archer dedication, you're just kind of throwing that away. But you might do that so that you could pick up point-blank shot. As an example. All right. Assisting shot is kind of weak because of the press, and it's not really that great. It's only a +1 circumstance bonus, and by the time you get to higher level, you could be aiding for more than this. Anyways, point blank shot is a great stance, especially if you have the long bow. Even a short bow having the +2 damage. This is a pretty reasonable stance. for a lot of archer and a lot of range characters. Quick shot is useful if you are finding yourself moving between weapons a lot, but if you're an archer character, I don't feel like you would be using much else other than your bow. Advanced weapons tend to suck, so gaining proficiency with all advanced bows as if they were martial bows doesn't really do a whole lot for you. Crossbow terror is new to the archer. You're a dynamo with the crossbow. You get a +2 circumstance bonus to damage with crossbows if the crossbow is a simple weapon. So this is basically just like crossbow ace. As normal, this damage dice increases can't be combined with other abilities such as crossbow ace. So that's unfortunate, but you do get a +2 bonus to damage die with crossbows. And if it's a simple crossbow, the damage die goes up by 1. So this makes crossbows still probably not 100% worth it, but at least somewhat interesting. Double shot, which is like the dual slice of shooting, which could potentially be better than hunted shot because you're making 2 more accurate attacks, although at the cost of 2 actions, and obviously only for bows because of the reload of 0. So this is a strong mechanical option, which normally, again, is locked into the fighter option. Parting shots. You can 2 actions. You can step and make a ranged strike that is the person's flat-footed against. Seems like that could be useful for a rogue. Again, running reload. We've seen this before. Staggering fire. Make a ranged strike with a bow on a hit. The target takes a -5-foot speed penalty until its turn. -10 on a critical hit. And it has the press trait. Not really impressed. Archer's aim. This is 2 actions. You get a +2 circumstance bonus to the attack roll, which is nice. Again, I mean, having somebody aid you is better because it could probably be a +3 or even a +4. But if you're on your own, it can be useful. And you ignore the concealed condition, which is not nothing. And if they're hidden, the DC, meaning they're invisible or something like that, your flat check goes from a 50% mischance to a 20% mischance, which is pretty good. You get triple shot, just like the fighter gets double shot, and then triple shot. They get triple shot, so you can make 3 shots. You make 3 attacks, all at -4. Again, pretty good. Mobile shot stance and multi-shot stance. So you don't trigger attacks of opportunity. It's kind of weak. And then your penalty for double shot is reduced to -1 or -2 if you're using it 3 times. So this is a mechanical option for sure. The dedication sucks, but that's just because that's the way dedications kind of work in this game. Archer is not going to make you into a better combatant than you would already be. So Archer is not really a great option, in my opinion, for characters who aren't really going to get above expert. But for classes that go to master in their weapon proficiency and want to be better with a bow than they already would be and have access to some more of these, kind of fighter style bow options, this seems like a pretty good option. I hesitate to put it at A because Rogue and Acrobat seemed like they were better. Although this is a lot of really good bow feats. And so I'm probably gonna, I don't know. I might stick this in A. I don't know. It's tough to say. Probably B. Is it A for Archer or B for bow? Boothby says B for bow. I'm going to put it in B. I think it's okay. Yeah, Archer is one of those, like, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like one of those min-maxy car-oppy type ones that, kind of comes in here. It just kind of does its thing. All right, Artillerist is from Guns and Gears. The Artillerist maxim holds that while fights may be won with swords, battles are won with cannons. It's cool that we went from Archer to Artillerist. Okay. So, I am just going to assume that this is a flavor thing, okay? Because this is all about using... There's only a couple feats here. Look at this. We've got our dedication. You can make your grand, like your, the wolf's head ram from Return of the King. If you need crew, you can do it with less people. You can load different shots. You can spend an action to increase its speed by letting you move siege engines around faster. You're permanently quickened, but only to aim or launch a siege weapon. This is the definition of something that would need to be flavor, right? Like, I don't even, like, if you're 16th level, like, your party members can fly and summon dragons and, like, summon kaiju from the outer planes and drop fireballs and chain lightnings 500 feet. But you're like, I can aim the siege engine real quick. Like, your character at level 16 is probably capable of just straight up doing more damage than your artillery that you're actually aiming. So this is just kind of silly and kind of dumb. You know, I don't think that this is particularly fun or cool. You know, I just, this is a very, very specific type campaign. And again, it ignores one of the larger problems in general, which is that, you know, Pathfinder 2, like, we're still gaining levels. We're still Pathfinder 2 characters. So, like, by the time I'm level 16 or I'm level 8, it's like the game mechanics have just moved so far past these concepts. Like, Castle Wall, like, we've all seen Game of Thrones. We're all watching House of the Dragon. We all know the story of Harrenhal, right? Like, in Pathfinder 2, in a world where there is flying dragons and ready access to devastating magics, from fireballs to chain lightnings to flame strikes to whatever primal characters can cast fireballs. Castles are kind of a death trap. Nobody would actually use castles. The reason why castles went away in the real world is because we developed bombs and missiles and artillery and cannon in real life, or, you know, and then we started moving to, like, underground bunkers and stuff. This would be true in Pathfinder 2 as well. I hate to say this. There shouldn't be castles. They're just a liability. You know, open-topped areas that are entirely condensed for force of defense is really bad when a level 10 wizard can be invisible and flying above you 500 feet and dropping fireballs into your ranks. It's just, it's not, it doesn't make any sense. Artillerist is not going to get a D, though. It actually feels like it does artillerist stuff in a way that makes sense, but it's not particularly, you know, cool or doing anything. So I'm just gonna say it's a C, but with the note that it's very niche. DK says, yeah, but the aesthetic though. I mean, that's true. Always AFK. So if anything, always AFK. You're right. Everybody would be, you know, moved to very distributed. Everybody, it would almost be like Vietnam, where everybody was just in, like, distributed tunnel systems, because you didn't want to ever have everybody bunched up because the threat of an AoE was too great. Okay, assassin. Now, Tim was an assassin in our Dark of Winter campaign, and he was really disappointed with it. So let's see how it does. Here's the thing. You're trained to assassinate your foes. All right, so we are an assassin. We are dedicated to assassinating. For 3 actions, you can mark for death. You have to be able to see and hear the creature that you intend to mark. This lasts until you mark for death again or it dies. You get a +2 circumstance bonus to seek your target and feint your target. Your agile and finesse weapons gain backstabber and deadly D6. And if your weapon already has deadly, it increases it by 1 step. So this is very hard to use mechanically in just most situations. Spending 3 actions to mark somebody to get these benefits is pretty rough. This is much more reasonable if your character is operating alone and you can sneak in and you can somehow mark them before the combat starts, but it's not always entirely sure that you can do that in Pathfinder 2. because in order to use this, you might have to be in encounter mode, and the creature will at least know that it's an encounter. There's a whole thing about this. It's a lot of actions to use, and not really practical unless you're literally like able to see them and spy on them and mark them for death. It does last until the mark dies or use mark for death again. So in theory, you could mark them for death, say at the tavern earlier in the day, and then later that night you sneak into their room or their house and you kill them. Okay? And Boothby points out, even if you're using this while alone, you're going to get it in one strike off. Even a crit sneak is not really going to kill a reasonably level target off, at which point you're just fighting it alone. True. You pick up some feats here at level 4. Angel of Vindication. You have to be a night wall. What the hell? What happened here? Okay, you can assassinate undead. Okay, so there's a bunch of random night wall stuff that gets kind of thrown in here. Here we go. Expert Backstabber. When you strike a flat-footed foe with a weapon that has the Backstabber trait, you deal 2 extra precision damage instead of 1. Remember that 1 point of Backstabber damage that we're always kind of shit-talking? Well, this one makes it 2. And if you get a +3 weapon, like level 17 or something, or 16, it'll be 4 instead of 2. Awesome. You get poison resistance equal to half your level. Hey, I'm level 4. I got 2 poison resistance. How much poison damage did I just take? 38. Nope. I took 36. Okay. You can act before foes react. On the first round of combat, if you roll Deception or Stealth for initiative, creatures that haven't acted yet are flat-footed to you. This is actually pretty reasonable. Rogues can get this as well. This is pretty okay. Okay. To be fair, at level 4, most creatures deal very low poison damage. All the more reason that it shouldn't be a problem and not something that you're worried about. Poison weapon. So I have to be wielding a piercing or slashing weapon, and I apply a poison to the required weapon. If I have a free hand, I can interact to draw a poison as part of this action. If my next attack with that weapon before the end of my next turn hits and deals damage, it applies the effect of the poison, provided that the poison is contact or injury. If I critically fail the attack roll, the poison is wasted as normal. Now it's interesting. Maybe my knowledge of poison is a little off here. All right, so this makes us a little bit more efficient at applying poison weapons. And we get these sort of bonus-free, shitty poisons. But they can stack up. They can build up. Getting a number of simple injury poisons equal to our rogue level, and by that I mean they mean our total level if we're an assassin, and they deal 1d4 points of damage. Not the greatest thing in the world, but it's an extra point of damage. D4 points of damage, but it's an action to do that. It's pretty brutal. Sneak attacker. We get the sneak attack, D4, D6 if we're not a rogue. So kind of cool if we want a little bit of extra sneaks. Angel of Death. All our strikes get the death trait, causing them to die when they're reduced to 0 hit points, which almost every GM in the history of all time has done this anyways. ignore it or fail it. I do like this part because this is one of those things which should matter in our games, but never does, which is that, you know, if the PCs kill a villain, even in, like, for example, in a classic adventure path, the PCs are killing a series of lieutenants and villains on their way up to the top where there's some big bad villain who is usually very high level and who would have tons of access to resources and should 100% be raised deading or resurrecting all of these slain lieutenants, learning everything about the party, knowing exactly what's going on, being just completely informed about what's happening, and then have all these lieutenants just be resurrected and brought back. This one comes in and says, nope, look at this. They got to counteract your level. But of course, they're much higher level than you because they're the ones communicating with the dead or disturbing them from the afterlife. So they'll crush your counteract check. And so this will actually do nothing. But, you know, in theory, it's okay. Yeah, Angel of Death should have been the dedication feat, right? Like, it shouldn't be an uncommon archetype, and you take this in epic campaign to be the guy who can stop the resurrections. Yeah. So that's pretty okay. You do 2d4 points of damage with your shitty little poisons instead of 1d4 because you're level 10 now, and you need to be doing an extra couple points of a damage. And then lastly, at level 12, you have designated a mark using mark for assassination, and you are completely unnoticed by your mark. That doesn't just mean hidden. It means unnoticed. You make an attack. It deals an extra 66 points of precision damage, and then if the mark, and then they make a basic fortitude save, and if they critically fail with incapacitation, they die. So long last, we actually can assassinate somebody. It's only going to work against lower level people, and they have to critically fail it anyways. I don't really like the assassin. Mechanically, I just feel like it doesn't give you enough benefits. I think a lot of its things are very, very circumstantial and problematic. Yeah, good luck being unnoticed. It just doesn't do enough for me. Is it flavor? Is it flavor? I don't know. Is the assassin more flavor? It's an archetype I would give. I don't think it's flavor, by the way. Let's see what the people here say. By the way, this is totally a stream that's going to probably go to like 9:30 or like 9:45 or something. I mean, we're going to try to at least get through the Bs. We got Bastion, Beast Gunner, Beastmaster, Bellflower, Tiller, Bless One, Bounty Hunter, Brightline, Bullet Dancer. But oh my God, there's so many Bs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ugh, God, we're gonna have to go quick. Oh my gosh, it's like tied. It's like tied, people. Yeah, it's not flavor. I agree, Henry. I'm actually agreeing with Henry's assertion here. It's not flavor. It's just very, very situational mechanics. Yeah, it's all mechanical ability. It doesn't feel like enough flavor to be flavor. I agree with Shadram. Yeah. All right, mechanics is pulling ahead. It's 60%. So I'm going to say it's mechanical. And on the basis of it being mechanical, I don't know. It kind of feels bad. I don't know. I don't know if it's as bad as the D. What do you people think? You think it's a C or a D? I think it's a C. Grim says it's an F. We got C, D, D, C. Got another D. Ooh, it looks like we're trending towards D. All right, Grim Prism says it's below baseline. D, you'll never get a chance to. All right. You all have convinced me, and that, you know, D for death trait. Okay, a lot of D's. Okay, yeah, we're all right. We're all. I'm seeing what you're seeing. We're all on the same page here. All right, so that wraps us up. So far we've had the Acrobat and the Archer and the Assassin, who ended up at A, B, and D. And then we've got the Animal Trainer, the Aldori Duelist, the Archaeologist, the Artillerist, the Alkenstar Agent, and the Alter Ego, which have ranged from A to D as a distribution as well. And now we move into the Bs. Okay, Bastion. Now, Bastion is currently the free archetype of choice for Mr. Aaron Smith's character in our Quest for the Frozen Flame game, Joran, who took Bastion in order to pick up some additional shield feats. So you need to have shield block, and because he is a war priest, he does have shield block. And he took that because he got the reactive shield feat for free, which is, dedication feats are usually kind of shitty. Getting a free, reasonably good feat for free for picking up the dedication is pretty good, I think. And not something that, I don't think is bad. All right, at level 4, we get 2 options. We can take Disarming Block, which I'm not a fan of. In fact, Escanor from had it as well, but you get 2 options here, and unfortunately, these are both kind of bad. Because Disarming Block is you just shield blocked, and it's a free action, and you get to disarm them. But disarm doesn't do anything unless you really are you critically succeeding. It's a free action though, and if you get free archetype, yeah. DK says, is it just me or is the shield hit point feel too low to be an S? DK, you have to use 30 shields. You have to use 30 shields. If you're not using 30 shields, you might as well not use a shield. In fact, pretend if you're going to shield and you're going to shield block, pretend that every shield that is in the book doesn't exist. And just use the lesser sturdy runes as well. But yes, the disarm is free. It means nothing, but it's free. And that's pretty much how I agree with it. Yes, sturdy shield's the only shield in the game. If you saw one of our shorts that Aaron put out, he talked about how do you make shields better. It's simple. You know how we have fundamental runes for our weapons like striking and potency? You just make sturdy a fundamental rune that you can put on shields, magical shields. And then all you do is you just take your cool lion shield or your cool arrow catching shield, and then you just apply a lesser sturdy rune to it or a moderate sturdy rune to it. So, yes, I would never take these feats with a class feat. I would probably just skip over them. If this was like a normal archetype, you just wouldn't take these. But moving on. Everland Stance is stupid because this is the hold a shield with 2 hands thing. If you're like the Captain America build where you've got the 1 hand and the free hand, then this is okay. But you get to increase the damage by 1 step, and you increase the shield's hardness by 2. So it's like, it's that scene, it's like when Captain America and Thanos is coming on him and he's just on the full total defense mode. But it's it's a pretty, there are very few people who are going to be able to wield a shield with 2 hands, right? It's pretty limited. So we get to level 6. Again, Escanor took this in our Rise of the Rune Lords campaign. Joran is not level 6 yet, so hasn't had a chance. But at level 6, you get this Everland Strike, which is you have to be in the Everland stance, and then you get to make an attack with it, which is whatever. To be fair, it's not bad. You strike and raise your shield. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. The idea of somebody just fighting, holding onto their shield with 2 hands and just being like, ugh. It's just like the idea of somebody just being like this. It's kind of silly. But, I mean, maybe you can make it seem cool in your mind. But Nimble Shield Hand is fun. I do like it. You can use your hand for interact. But you can hold something in your hand, but it can't be a weapon. You can hold a torch. You can open a door with it. That's pretty cool. The Everstand feats are limited to the Knights of Lastwall. Okay, yes. A character who is a member of the Knights of Lastwall. All right. So most people don't even have that option. Okay, so just the Knights of Lastwall have that option. So most of the time, you are going to be taking Bastion Dedication, Disarming Block, Then you're going to take Nimble Shield Hand, which is okay. Or you can take Shielded Stride, which is pretty interesting. If you have your shield raised, you can move at half speed, and you don't trigger reactions. That's not bad. I don't mind that, especially if you've got a decent speed. That could be pretty powerful. I don't mind that. At 8, you get drive back, which is, again, another Knights of Last Wall feat. We're going to ignore that. So you get Shield Warden or Reflexive Shield. With Reflexive Shield, if you raise your shield, you can now use that bonus for your reflex saves, just like it was cover, and you can shield block from reflex saves. Granted, again, this is one of those things where it's like, naturally, I think if you were playing with somebody who never played role-playing games before, and you told them that they had a shield, and you explained to them that on their turn they had to have that shield raised, but they could block with the shield, and then a dragon swooped in and coiled around a nearby stalagmite, and then breathes fire. I think the fictional reality is most people would say, oh, I've got a shield that has to be good at protecting me and and blocking some of that damage. And then you tell them that no, they need to take a specific level 8 fighter feat or Bastion feat in order to be able to do that. I don't know. We either love it or we hate it. Depends on how I'm feeling on that day. Some days I appreciate the game design and the challenge of the tactical build. Some days it makes me want to throw my CRB into the ocean. Depends. But it's good. It's a good feat. Like mechanically, for allowing you to do something that, per the rules of the game, you cannot do. Shield Warden is fantastic. You can shield block adjacent allies. Awesome. When you shield block, you can reduce the damage to yourself by double the shield's hardness, but the shield takes double the amount of the damage it could take. It's kind of a last-ditch effort, but pretty sweet and awesome. Quick shield block, fantastic. This is kind of why we did the archetype. At the start of each of your turns, you gain an additional reaction that you can use to shield block. So you get an additional reaction a turn for shield block. This is awesome. This is fantastic. We are very excited about this. This is a big moment. You're going to feel a lot cooler when you get to this level. Mirror Shield lets you reflect against an enemy using a ranged spell attack. Again, it's kind of wonky. They have to critically fail. You have to have your shield up, but whatever. It's fine. Shield Salvation is our last option. When you can save your shield from total destruction, even after devastating attack, if the shield would be destroyed due to the damage taken by your shield block, the shield remains at 1 hit point instead. Its construction is weakened until you take the time to prevent it, preventing you from using Shield Salvation again. The fact that this has to be a feat in the game indicates that there's a fundamental problem with the whole shield hit points economy, and it's just something that needs to be dealt with and improved, but I like Bastion. I think it's strong. I like what it does for the shields. I like that it gives you access to some of those cool shield feats. Very cool for classes that get access to shield block. I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's as good as Acrobat or Rogue. Quick shield block is really why it's like that's why we're here. Some of these other ones are okay, but quick shield block is dang fine. I think it's a solid, good, quality mechanical B. B for block. B for block, says Michael Ham. I agree.
And let's get ready to RPG.
All right. We have to psych ourselves up here. Let me start by saying, the concept of the beast gun is horrible, and I hate everything about it. Look at all of this. All this stuff that they want to have in here. Okay? John's got to go run a game. Have fun. Thank you, John, for stopping by. Thank you for supporting us. We appreciate you. We love you. I knew the beast gun hate would be strong, and I'm here for that hate myself. I love everything about it. I don't even know how to start with this idea. Okay. okay, beast guns are just, number one, this is a level 6 dedication feat, so that is kind of, you know, on its own interesting. This idea that people have been creating biogenic weapons for 10,000 years in Arcadia. The idea that firearms are 10,000 years old is already just kind of insane. The idea that you are like creating like octopus tentacle guns and like dragon breathing fire guns, it's just so horrific. And it's like you're like bonding to it. And by the way, I'm 99% sure that what this is somebody played 40K, okay? And these are called, this is from the Tyranids. These are called biomorphs, okay? And Tyranids, which are like the Zerg, but in Warhammer 40K, they use these sort of bio weapons, okay, is what they use in Warhammer 40K, right? And it's stupid and it's horrible, but like that's what we use, right? And I think somebody played 40K and they said, oh, like we should have that in our we should have that in our fantasy adventure game, right? We should have players who go and fight monsters and then turn them into guns. And that is just so stupid and just so wonky and weird, and I hate everything about it. And then you like bond with it. You have to hunt down the creature and slay the creature. It's just, oh god, Jason B.
Jason B tipped $10. Okay guys, okay, I can't do it anymore. This whole game is a troll. We are just trolling. Honestly, it was a joke. We had no idea PF would blow up when we stole it from Watsk. Now we're just trying to hang on, doing more and more nutso things. Trolling.
Jason B comes clean and admits the entire game is a troll. All right. We suspected, but now we are here. We know. Okay. So to be clear, beast guns are people who hunt down something like a big spider or an octopus or a manticore, and then they turn that creature's body into a gun, and then they bond with that on a personal psychic level. They may or may not have sex with the gun. We will never know. And then when they do all that, you could take the Beast Gunner dedication. You have to be trained in Arcana and crafting. You have to be expert with a type of firearm. You have to own a beast gun, and you have to have slain the type of creature associated with your beast gun. And it has to have been in a fair hunt. See above. You can only have up to 5 allies with you when you go on the hunt. If the assistants are significantly more powerful than the hunted creature, or if there are so many assistants that the creature never stood a chance at survival, which by definition should pretty much rule out every single beast gun in the history of Pathfinder 2, because the odds are overwhelmingly in the party's favor every single time. Thus, the creature never truly stood a chance at survival. Then they cannot magically bond with their hunted dead corpse gun, because the materials are wasted, much to the shame and chagrin of the hunter, which of course has no mechanical effects. So, yeah, everybody's getting very upset about the 10,000 year past history. Yeah, a lot of fantasy settings is suspect. Anyways, any society staying stagnant for 10,000 years is mind-boggling. 10,000 years ago, we hadn't even invented language or writing yet. Or certainly not writing. So, if you have all that, you get the Beast Gunner. You become bonded to your Beast Gun and you unlock its hints of potential. You treat all Beast Guns as martial firearms when determining your proficiency with it. You can change your, after all that you went through, you can change your bonded Beast Gun to another Beast Gun you own during the game. So you can just have an array of weapons that you've had sex with. It also acts as a conduit, drawing out any amplifying any latent magical power you have. You can cast spontaneous spells. With the cast a spell activity, you get a cantrip of your choice from Arcane or Primal. Hey, I killed a manticore and I turned its ass spikes into a gun, and then I had sex with it, and now I can cast Electric Arc. Okay. And the long and the short of it is, you get Spell Sling, which is what everybody wants. And what is Spell Sling? It is the cheap version of Spell Strike, right? It's the 3-action version of Spell Strike. Okay, you can cast a spell and you can shoot it through your gun, through your weird tentacle gun. You can shoot a spell. Now, unlike Spell Strike, which is 2 actions, and you can cast a 2-action spell and strike, that's Spell Strike, for 2 actions, meaning you're saving an action, but you've got to, quote, reload it. Spell Sling is always 3 actions. So if you cast a 2-action spell and shoot, you're using all 3 actions to do that. You make a strike with the Beast Gun, your spell flies with the ammunition, and it uses your 1 attack roll to determine the effects of both the strike and the spell. And it counts as 2 attacks for purposes of attack of opportunity. So you're able to shoot your Electric Arc through your spell. Or not Electric Arc, because that requires a spell attack roll. You're able to shoot whatever the hell it is, your Produce Flame, through your thing. This is probably only useful for cheesy car op builds. I saw someone mention above that they're playing it in Northern Reaches, or maybe their home campaign, which highly suspects me that it is some car op munchkiny bullshit. But there it is. My level 11 Northern Reaches character is Gunslinger / Spell Shot / Beast Gunner / Psychic, right? So just, I'm not shaming you, unfortunate pumpkin. I'm just saying that these are the kind of builds that attract nonsense. At level 8, you can get basic spellcasting benefits, because why not? At level 8, you could also call your gun to you. It doesn't even have an action. Oh, it's 1 action. You can bring your gun to you from anywhere on the same plane. At level 10, you can gain temporary hit points from your gun. At level 12, you get better spellcasting benefits. At level 16, you can curve the bullet. And then at level 18, you gain the final truth of Beast Guns, which gives you master spellcasting benefits. Has nothing to do with guns at all. It's just completely ridiculous and nonsense. People who take this are taking this so that they can, stack True Strike with their fatal firearm. Then they can put like they have another class that they do to put damage into it, and then they stack it all up with the aid bonus, and then they use 3 actions, and then they cast the spell. It's for cheese. So there's, in my opinion, just okay. We're gonna do this here. It's a mechanical class. Okay, there's no doubt about that. It's a mechanical class, but I'm going to put it into F on the flavor. And again, you have to be level 6 to get it. But look, I'm not going to lie. The dedication feat gives you basically, it basically makes you a Magus. It gives you Spell Strike. That's repeatable, by the way. That's repeatable. And it's in a gun. So that seems pretty great. And then it gets all of the spellcasting benefits that all the other spellcasters get. So it's arcane or primal. So a guy with a beast gun can be as good of a spellcaster as somebody who took the wizard free archetype. Okay. Except they can also shoot spells in their guns and get hit points from it. I mean, I don't know. It's probably really busted, and I've seen it used in a variety of different places. So, I mean, it's probably an A mechanically. It's probably very compelling. I think 3 actions to spell shot for archetype for a dedication feat is probably borderline busted, but we'll just assume that it's an A. It does take 3 actions, which is a lot in Pathfinder 2, but it's pretty cheesy. But I am giving it an F for flavor because that's just horrible. All right. Right into Beastmaster. I don't think we need to do this one, do we? Beastmaster's busted. It makes the druid and the ranger seem silly and stupid. You get a Beastmaster. You get a full Beastmaster at 2. You get a full animal companion at 4. You can either take an additional animal companion, or you gain a focus spell to heal your animal companion, or you can gain magic hide focus spells, or you're not going to take any of those because your animal companion is going to become mature instead. At level 6, you can mind meld with your beast. At level 8, it becomes the 3rd tier animal companion, just completely busted. You get enlarge animal companion. You can summon your animal companion to your side, and then at level 14, you even go all the way to specialist. And this is just from a free archetype feat. This is incredibly powerful. I should even point out, by the way, that the rules for animal companion, if your animal companion dies, you can get a new one. In fact, with the multiple animal companions, you can have up to 4 of them at the same time. So Beastmaster is just S tier. It's extremely powerful. Very, very, very powerful. I allowed free archetype and Frozen Flame, and I ended up with 3 Beastmasters. Maybe, sometimes the GM can step in there, Shadram. You're allowed to speak up. You're allowed to say stuff. Beastmaster S tier, I think we can all agree on that. It's very powerful, and it just doesn't, it's too good. It's just too good. Just came in, but does it lose points for high-level AC being trash? It's busted early, but basically useless later, especially with the errata. I mean, yes and no, Darth Gorlock, because I think at a certain point at higher level, if the GM is using attacks to attack your Beastmaster, I think you're winning already. So I don't even think you're that worried about it. I think it just being a free summon that you didn't have to sustain or really you get a free action to just move it, I think is already just such a win. It doesn't even matter. It's like a summon creature, but you didn't have to use a spell slot, and you don't have to spend any actions to sustain it, and you don't have to spend any actions to control it. So, yeah, they can just stride around and do stuff. Like, they don't need to do anything. I think the only thing that could reasonably be respected to be potentially problematic is area of effect spells. I can certainly appreciate that. It's still very busted. It's not going to... What it does is it can flank, it can provide the support benefits, and that's really what it's going to do. It also depends on what kind of game you're running, Darth Gorlock. If everything that you're running against your players is power level +3, yeah, I agree. It's not going to do anything. But that's not the way that most APs are written, and it's certainly not the way that most people play their home games. Against creatures that are PL or PL -1, or even gas PL -2, the companion does just fine. Yeah. So. All right. Bellflower Tiller. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. My Galarian lore here is not up to speed. I don't know what the hell a Bellflower tiller is. But I'm going to guess it's a flavor. All right, Bellflower tiller handle. Oh, okay. So these are like Underground Railroad people. Something, something freeing slaves. Anti-slavery halflings. Okay, cool. You get a bonus to your speed. Cool. You choose 6 people to be your crop. That doesn't sound good. Oh, the freed slaves are crops. Okay. They can use their speed or my speed if it's higher. So we can move quickly. Cool. It's interesting you have to be level 6 to take this. By the way, spoilers from Age of Ashes. Sorry. When you or any of your crop are avoiding notice, you can choose a member to have quiet allies. Cool. So, and you roll 2 checks and use the higher one. So very good at group stealth. When you roll a success to aid a member, you get a critical success instead. Not that useful because eventually you just always get a critical success. But at a certain point in the game, that is actually pretty nice. Actually, right around level 8, that is really nice because you're pretty much going to auto succeed at level 8, but you might not auto crit at level 8, so that's pretty good. If you hit a creature that is adjacent to or more members of your crop, you get circumstance bonus to damage equal to the number of weapon dice. And when you hit a creature who is a member of your crop grab, they can escape using a reaction. You can aid even if a member of your crop hasn't even prepared so. That's awesome. By the way, I kind of did this in Abomination Vaults with the Ranger. I wanted to buff the Ranger, and so I basically gave the Ranger this ability, but they could only use it against the target that they had hunted. So if Bob hunted prey, that ghoul, then I treated him as always being prepared to offer aid against that ghoul because, that's where his focus was, and he could help people out with a timely bow shot or, with his knowledge, his hunter's knowledge, and tell you where it's weak, and I thought that was pretty cool. Your speed goes up to 10. I mean, here's the thing. If you could somehow make the rest of your party members your crop, that would be busted, because that would be cool. But I mean, that's kind of munchkin-y and power gamey. I mean, I'm assuming most of the time that you're going to be escorting, again, lower level people that, were slaves and you're helping them escape. So obviously this is a full flavor win, but for that flavor, what cool mechanics and what cool, fun, extra benefits in a very strong mechanical way. In a weird way, this is like a very strong mechanically flavor rule. Can you not make them your crop? Well, it doesn't specifically say that you can or can't. It just says choose up to 6 other people to be your crop. That is technically choosing 6 other people. But again, I mean, this is the definition of some munchkin bullshit, right? Because all you need to do is be a member of the Bellflower network, to be fair, and you have to be Charisma 14 and expert in stealth and survival. And you're like, okay, cool, yes. And now I'm going to choose my 6 party members who are, by the way, not fleeing slaves. I'm not escorting them anywhere. They are powerful adventurers, and I am going to, I'm not going to be escorting them to freedom. I'm not even going to be helping slaves. I'm going to go adventure, and I'm going to go fight rune lords. You're like, okay. This is great, though. I think this is fantastic. I think this is like S tier. Like this is fun and powerful, quite frankly. I love it, actually. Sadly, I'm like, yeah, I kind of wish that it wasn't just the crop part, because I'm like, these are fun mechanics. I love the idea of somebody who's like really good at helping out their allies and protecting them. This is just cool. What a fun flavor. So I like it. I don't know how you feel, but maybe I'm being overly nice to it, but yes, Anthony, like perhaps a warlord. I got to check the Legends lore book to see what crop means. I think it means your fellow halfling freedom fighters. No. It says it. It says it right here. Attiler's freed slaves are her crop, which she moves along secretive paths termed rows, taking shelter in secret hideouts. It's a little bit of a sus reference, I will agree, that they're called crop, but I mean, it is supposed to be like a code term, so people don't know that what you're talking about. All right, we have the blessed one. Through luck or deed, heritage, or heroics, you carry the blessings of a deity. This blessing, it manifests the ability to heal wounds and remove harmful conditions, and exists independent of worship. Okay. No prerequisites. Blessed one, dedication. You are touched by a deity and gifted with the ability to alleviate the sufferings. You gain lay on hands and a focus point. This feat grants a focus pool of 1 point that you can recover by meditating. Well, that's very powerful. Gotta love that. Dedication, lay on hands, a focus pool, a focus point, level 2. Why not? That's pretty cool. Blessed sacrifice. Level 4, you get an increase in your number of focus points, and you get the Protector's Sacrifice domain spell, which is normally a protection domain, which is a reaction. An ally within 30 feet takes damage, and they take 3 less, and you take the 3 points of damage. And this auto heightens, because it's a focus spell, by 3 per level. So at level 3, it would be 6. At level 5, it would be 9. I mean, that's pretty good. Obviously, it sucks that you're taking it, but, you know, being able to reduce 9 damage as a reaction is a lot of damage. By the time you're level 20 and casting level 10 spells, it's 30 points of damage. Even the champion's reaction is probably only doing 22. So this is protecting more than the champion's reaction. But, of course, obviously, you're taking the damage instead. So that is something to be considered. But it is very, very flavorful and very cool. Accelerating touch, similar to a paladin ability. It's a champion feat. If you heal someone with lay on hands, you get a plus 10 bonus status bonus to speed. It's a shame that everybody has Wands of Longstrider, because that's pretty cool. So basically, you're just getting the whole champion lay on hands line here. You get Mercy. Tries to counteract the fear effect or paralyze. This has a lot of the problems that counteract has, but it's still pretty cool. Blessed. Once per 10 minutes, when you focus your magic on an ally, you can remove harmful condition. If your next action is to cast a spell from a spell slot and it's only one ally, you can also attempt to remove a condition. So it's sort of like a meta magic feat that can also try to counteract an effect. Invigorating Mercy adds clumsy and enfeebled. That's a rough feat to get clumsy and enfeebled. Greater Mercy adds blinded, deafened, sickened, slowed. That's much better. And then Blessed Denialed is a reaction. An enemy within 30 feet would become frightened, drained, enfeebled, sickened, or stupefied. The reaction, reduce the value of the condition your ally would take by 1 to a minimum of 0. That's really good. That is really good. This is a fantastic reaction. That's really good. Elucidating Mercy, another improvement to the Mercy, adding confused and stupefied. Again, not worth it. Resilient Touch, an ally that gets lay on hands gets +1 status bonus to saving throws until the end of the next turn. Not worth it. Horrible. Affliction Mercy, you can attempt to counteract curses, disease, or poisons. Again, like this is all the problems that counteracting has, but you're getting it kind of for free when you lay on hands, so it's not that bad. And being able to remove curses, diseases, and poisons is something that is going to come up a lot in the game. An amplifying effect, you can give them a +1 status bonus and deal 1 additional good damage until the end of the next turn. This is cool until you realize that level 3 heroism does the same thing, and this won't stack with that. So Maybe there's a world where doing the 1 point of good damage helps trigger certain weaknesses in foes, but for the most part, this doesn't really feel really great. And then at level 20, you get Rejuvenating Touch. Your healing energies linger after you cast, providing continual benefit. An ally that recovers hit points from your land hands gains 10 temporary hit points at the start of their turn, each turn for the next 10 rounds. So you're level 20, you've got hundreds of hit points. The enemy is hitting for 90 to 100 damage, but you get 10 temp a round. It's also pretty weak. But dedication, giving you land hands, getting focus spells, increased focus pools, some of the really good lay on hands feats. This is very cool. And you could just throw this onto class. It doesn't really rely on DC as much. Like you just throw this on your fighter and now they've got lay on hands and some additional cool focus spells. This is very powerful. I think this is very good. It feels cool too, thematically. But I think this is really great. I'm going to give Blessed One an A. I think Blessed One is solid, fun, powerful. Lots of good stuff. It's good. I think I'd rather be a champion multiclass the majority of the time, and that is a reasonable thing. I think the main thing, Tierce, is that you don't need the charisma to be a Blessed One. And you do need that. You do need that thing. You do need it to be a champion. Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter. So we got our Jango Fett, Boba Fett. Whether for coin, glory, or justice, you know how to track, defeat, and capture dangerous individuals. You're accustomed to perusing wanted posters, searching up leads, and pursuing villains to hell and back. All right. We get Hunt Prey. And it's just to gather in... Oh, no. In addition to the other benefits of Hunt Prey, which, by the way, is seek or track, we get a bonus to... gather information. If we already have Hunt Prey, so let's say we're a ranger and we want to become a bounty hunter, we become an expert in survival and gain the bonus to circumstance bonus to gather information about your prey as well. And you can still designate a creature you're tracking during exploration. Well, that's nice. So this is a better Hunt Prey than the ranger gets, which is cool. And we only need it that we've seen or heard about. Hey, I heard about an ogre. Cool. I Hunt Prey it. That is so weird. Yeah, that's cool and awesome that they can do that. But that's just way better than the Rangers in like every possible way, shape, or form. Cool. You get a posse. By spending 1 minute giving guidance to help hunt down your prey, you instruct up to 5 creatures willing to assist you. They gain a +1 circumstance bonus to seek your prey, to track your prey, and to gather information about your prey. You and the creatures assisting you get a +1 circumstance bonus when entering initiative rolls, when entering combat with your prey. I feel like every ranger should just take this just so that they could get the better Hunt Prey. But here we go. It's +1, and of course, only up to 5 creatures. I can't handle a posse larger than 5 people. It's very convenient. It's a good thing that you know, we don't ever have parties of adventurers more than 6 people. We'd have some real problems. This is just such a fiddly, stupid thing. So it's like, this again applies. Like if my bounty hunter was with a group of people and I was like, all right, folks, we're tracking down Silas Ramsey. He's a no good son of a bitch and we need to bring him down. Now I'm going to tell you about his mannerisms and I'm going to tell you about his ways, give you a good description of him. And we're going to go around town and we're going to see if we can find information about him. But because I don't have the posse feat, this has done nothing to help you. But I did take the posse feat, and now you get +1. Because you're my posse. But not you, Steve. Steve, you're the 6th guy. I'm sorry, I can't help you. I don't have enough attention. I just can't project. I just can't project to the rear row enough. Sorry, Steve, you don't get the bonus. You get trained in Bola, Slap, Sap, and Whip. You gain access to Bolas. No penalty when attacking non-lethal tools of the trade. We see keep pace for like the 100th time. An enemy critically fails a strike against me, and I have an open hand, and they're within reach, and they're not more than one size target than me. I can make an athletics check to grapple. To be fair, that's pretty cool, but again, very circumstantial. The only time an enemy of my level or higher is going to critically fail an attack against me is on a nat 1. And if the enemy is lower level than me, they might critically fail on a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4. But then let's be realistic. They're not a threat to me in the slightest. So, doesn't really do much. Double prey. I can focus on double prey. And of course, I can hunt prey when I've heard of people. Oh, I've heard there's 2 ogres. I hunt them both. So, and you can do that at 14th level. Lug says, Batman voice. Where's my prey? Where is it? Where is she? I have no idea how to judge this one. Bounty Hunter. Is this? I don't even know. I mean, it's mechanical, right? Clearly. Is it a B? Is it a C? Is it a D? Is it an A? I mean, it seems like it's better for rangers because now hunt prey becomes something that you can actually use. JG says, by my judgment, this is a D unless you're a ranger, in which case it's an A just to fix your action economy issues and nothing else. JG may be correct here. This may be the way of the world here. When do rangers get double prey? That's a great question. Is this going to tell us? No. Thank you for being horrible. They get it at 12. So they get double prey 1 level later at 14 than the ranger does. It's not bad. Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, people are voting. I'm going to take a drink. By the way, I said A through D. What I meant is A through B. We're going to finish up here with Bright Lion, Bullet Dancer, and Butterfly Blade, and then we're going to call it a night. So hang in there, folks. And again, as we move here into the last part of the stream, I want to say thank you for joining. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell to be notified of any of our future live streams. And if you enjoy the content, please consider joining our Patreon. We'd love to have you in there, have a conversation with you, get you part of these, get you part of the Knights of Last Call community. If you're finding yourself enjoying these streams, definitely worth the investment in your time.
Darth Glock tipped $14.96. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm filing a formal complaint on the Gunslinger archetype ranking. Guns are trash without the +2, you make yourself worse using them. You get a general feat, quick draw, and a reload that makes the gun not trash, but still useless.
So we talked about this at the beginning of the stream. I did say there were some complaints about the Gunslinger archetype, and I'm going to revisit it. Thank you, Darth Gorlock, for reminding me. Thank you for that tip for that as well. By the way, 57% of you said C for the Bounty Hunter. And I am going to say Bounty Hunter is going to be a C, with the caveat that it's okay for a Ranger. And I am actually going to move the Gunslinger down to a C. So thank you, Darth Gorlock. And thank you for reminding me of my mistake. You said A through D, not knowing there were 47 A archetypes. That's true. I did not know there were so many A's. There was a lot of A's. Look at all those A's. My God. Oh, that's okay. You missed the beginning of the stream. Yes, I did say, I said some of the things I heard was that the Ranger I was too harsh on, and that the Gunslinger I was too generous to. So I think that your tip is correct. The whole issue of not getting quick access to reloading the guns makes them very suspect, and I think all of your points are well made. So, and I am going to raise the Ranger up from an F to a D as well. Again, I'm not thrilled about it, but you know, there are certain classes that could benefit from getting some of those feats and some of those options. Magus and Summoner are fundamentally just like broken and stupid. They just don't work. All right, Bright Lion. You know, I wouldn't know about the Bright Lion. Except I don't know anything about the Bright Lion. I thought it was something else. You account. Oh, this is from Strength of Thousands AP, so spoiler alert. You work to counteract Walkena's cruelty and liberate the people of Mazzali. So obviously this is a Mwangi Expanse dedication, obviously a flavor dedication. You become trained, and you become in deception or diplomacy, or become expert if you were already instead. You don't need to lie or impersonate to put this is the most flavor thing of all time. You typically don't need to lie or make impersonate checks to pass yourself off as a worshiper of Walkena. Oh, wow. That's awesome, and that's amazing. It's a good thing that I'm not a worshiper of Walkena, but I can pass myself off without having to use impersonate to pass myself off as a worshiper of Walkena. Again, obviously this is strictly for this AP, and this is strictly for flavor. Although it raises the question of, okay, but what, is everybody taking this dedication? Like, what happens if like most of my party doesn't have this dedication? Is it even useful then? Blessing of the Sun Gods. We get a domain. We get a domain spell. That's pretty cool. And we get to increase our focus pool. We get the Lion's Might. We get trained, which the training features are always bad to me. And by the way, it's Lion Scythes and Sunslings. We get a tattoo at level 4 that lets us cast the Light cantrip. That's horrible. And if we die, it brings us back. Oh, no, it makes sure we don't decompose. Okay. Sun's Fury. We get the Sun's Fury focus spell. Is this something cool? It's from Legends. It targets a weapon without an unholy rune that is unattended or wielded by you or a wielding ally. It lasts for 1 minute. It does 1d4 fire and 1 point of good damage. All right, well, if the creature is weak to fire and good, we are in business. We get to elude the divine. We're able to blend in Mazzali and avoid unwanted attention to other oppressive theocracies. We get the Slippery Secrets skill feat, and we can apply it against divination attempts that attempt to discern who our deity really is. Right, so unless you're doing a secret agent in Walkena theocracy overload campaign, this is the absolute worthless one. But it has a lot going for it. It seems like it's really tied into the world and giving you some interesting mechanical choices and focus spells, a little bit of focus. I mean, having to take a feat to get training in it and another feat just to get the critical specialization effect in 2 advanced weapons is a little sus. Being able to keep our identity secret, even if they're trying to figure out who we worship or who we are. This light cantrip is pretty weak. I don't know. I'll say C. Yeah, I mean, I agree, Darth Gorlek. Feels very flavorful. I don't personally know the flavor, but, you know. This is an awful archetype mechanically. Yes, it has 0 merits. Find any other way to trigger good damage and get slippery secrets, and you are better off not taking it even in a Walkenna. Not to be confused with the other Lion Secret Spy or dedication, which is what I thought it was, by the way. This is the Bright Lion, and in our recent Fistful of Flowers one-shot, I think Aaron, his Leshy, might have been a Lion Blade, which is also a secret agent, but from Taldor, not from the enemies of Walkenna. All right, we got 2 left. Bullet Dancer. And man, this stream is just making me remember, like, with each passing moment, how much I hate Guns and Gears. It might be my least favorite book. Yeah. In fact, by far, my least favorite book. While most monastic orders and traditional fighting schools shun firearms as a loud and unreliable technology, you fuse flourishing feints and ricocheting gunplay into a whirling ballet of bullets. So this is like monk. This is like gun kata. Is this like monk gung fu? Yeah, gun kata. Exactly. Yeah, everybody's saying it's equilibrium. Okay. I mean, I can respect that, I guess, but you've learned to synchronize traditional martial arts. It's like they know who their audience is, and they're just like making these just outrageous things. You've synchronized martial arts and guns. This is like the most American thing ever. You gain the Bullet Dancer stance, and your proficiency, whenever your proficiency in any weapon goes to expert or beyond, you gain that proficiency in bayonets, simple firearms, reinforced stocks, and unarmed attacks. Bullet Dancer stance. If we're not wearing anything unarmored, and we're wielding a simple firearm or a bayonet or a reinforced stock, we enter a specialized stance for the unique martial arts centered around the use of simple firearms. While we're in the strike, the only strikes we can make are those using those weapons. We can flurry of blows with these weapons. Can you flurry of blows with a gun? Oh, I see. The idea is that, like, I can shoot my gun and then hit him with the gun stock because it's reinforced. Because I'm doing martial arts. Oh, and it's unarmed strike too, so I can shoot somebody and then punch them because it's like, you know, Christian Bale in Equilibrium. So cool. I can punch and gun. Flurry of blows. Brawling focus. We get monastic weaponry and we get critical spec. Hey, we get that a turn early. We get that a level early. That's all right. Pistol twirl. Oh man, I'm so cool. I'm twirling my guns. I hate Guns and Gears so much. We're wielding a loaded one-handed ranged weapon, and by the way, it's got to be loaded because they know if it's not. I can feint against a foe within the weapon's first range increment rather than just the melee reach, and if I succeed, they are flat-footed against our ranged attacks, not just our melee attacks. On a critical failure, though, of course, we become flat-footed. I'm so awesome. Oh, shit, I dropped my gun. I messed it up. But for one action, you can feint at ranged. Sure, okay. Black powder boost, of course. My favorite feat in the entire game. News alert, this is one of my least favorite feats in the entire game. Oh no, how am I going to get up there? Let me shoot my gun downward, and that is going to propel me. This is so stupid. Oh, I hate this so much. Oh, I'm in so much pain. This is so horrible. I hate everything about this. This doesn't even make sense on any level, by the way. Like, isn't this what the gunslinger does? Yes, William Brandis. I'm shooting my little ball at the ground, and that is rocket jumping me up an extra 20 feet of jumping. It's the dumbest thing. It's the dumbest thing ever. Anyways, Bullet Dancer Burn. Only if we have an attached bayonet. Yes, this brings PF2's G score to a 9 on its own. Well, it brings the game score up, and it brings in this like weird. I don't even know if this. I don't even want to call this an anime thing, but I feel like the Gunslinger has sort of an anime vibe to it, right? Where like it's just they have guns and they're so cool with their guns, and they're doing just the most outrageous thing with their guns, and the guns are so cool that I talk about the guns. I just can't stand it. The fiery ablaze of your weapons combined with your unorthodox technique leaves your opponent with little opportunity to capitalize on any gaps. While in Bullet Dancer stance, when you successfully strike with your bayonet or reinforced stock, the next ranged strike you make against an opponent doesn't trigger reactions that would trigger on a ranged attack. Well, that's nice. So we have to hit somebody just to not provoke an attack of opportunity for shooting our gun in melee. Because up until this point, we've been triggering an attack of opportunity every time we fired our gun in melee. You've learned to take advantage of every shot, flying across the battlefield with the help of your weapon's recoil. Stride and use black powder boost. Make a ranged strike with the required weapon or at any point during the black powder boost. Does shooting a gun in melee actually provoke? Yeah, I mean it does. It does in Pathfinder 2. Pathfinder 2. Okay. Apparently, I thought I said. Let's see. Yeah. A creature within your reach uses a manipulate action or move action, makes a ranged attack. It's regardless of manipulate action. It's just makes a ranged attack. Now, keep in mind, there's no such thing as provoking an attack of opportunity. The only thing you can do is sometimes your thing might trigger their reaction. Attack of opportunity specifically, which belongs to the fighter, the barbarian, the champion, the magus, and swashbuckler, triggers on making a ranged attack. So the fact that it has manipulate is sort of irrelevant, but anyways, but like for example, if we look at the monk's standstill feat, which triggers, it's only when it's a move action. So a monk doesn't actually do anything with a ranged attack. Okay, so this is horrible. I just right again. It feels like something that you would see out of a video. Not even a video game. Just like a very cheesy. And yes, it's very okay. It's very anime to me. To me, it's very anime to be able to rocket jump with a gun. All this other stuff is just blatantly mechanical. Awful with no dancer feel to it whatsoever. Snapshot. You can use a reaction. Okay, so you can use your reaction. If you have one, you can use your ranged attack. Even if it would normally use a melee attack, you can use a ranged attack. Bullet Dancer Reload. Look, here it is. They finally fit. By the way, they finally fit it in here. You've learned to reload your simple firearms with uncanny grace. The ammunition simply falling into place as though part of a well-practiced kata. You strike with a simple firearm and then interact to reload that same firearm. You don't need a free hand to reload your simple firearm in this way. By the way, this is not a 9mm, you know, like in the Matrix or something like that, or even in Equilibrium, you know, where they're like flinging clips through the air and they like, you know, have their guns and they're shooting and then they push the buttons, they eject the clips and then they somehow slam into the clips while they're spinning in the air, you know, or they're like shooting some guy and they roll on top of him and then they take his gun and they like disarm him and then they have their clip and they slam it. This is a simple firearm from Pathfinder 2. This is like a musket ball. This is like ramrodding a charge and then like getting out your pocket of gun black powder and then like pouring and priming the charge. The bullet falls into the barrel along with the powder and then the rod that jams it all in. And you're doing all of this while shooting the gun with no open hand free. Oh, man. Trick shot. Ranged. Oh, my God. There's like 17 feats in this. Okay. Thoughts from the chat? You know, Rick. I agree with Rick. I often agree with Rick. The gunslinger class could have been so much cooler, but they made it just too cartoony, and just silly and stupid. And guns and gunslingers are never going to be my thing. But like the way they did it made it like so that I just it goes from being like, oh, that's cool, but it's not for me, to just like, this is just so stupid. This is just so dumb. This game is dumb. Yada, 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 flavor D. S plus tier, flavor and mechanics. F for flavor fail. Just, yeah, well, why aren't we just playing a gunslinger? Corey hits it. Like, isn't this class just a gunslinger? Why isn't this just a gunslinger? This is flavor A if you want that style. Terrible for normal high fantasy, probably a D in normal campaigns. I just feel like this is just terrible everywhere. I don't know. I'm going to put it. I mean, there's a lot of mechanics here, right? I just think this is just stupid. Don Pokey says F for mechanics, C for flavor. It's only for monks. I think F for flavor, like Beast Gunner. Can it join? Yeah, okay. We'll make it F for flavor. Just horrible. It has no good mechanics. No class can make good use of this. One class can use it. D. The flavor's terrible. D. Okay, I'm gonna give it a D in mechanics and an F in flavor. Okay. I don't think the mechanics are decent, Darth Gorlock. I beg to differ. Boothby saying D in both. No, I'm not giving this thing. I'm not respecting this thing with a D in flavor. All right. It's better than a stuffed animal for a gun. Luke says I'd say pull. The mechanics are decent. All right. Well, you know what? We've got 10 minutes left. We're going to end at 10. So we'll do a poll here. Okay. So this is for the bullet, dancer, gun, kata, equilibrium ripoff. Mechanics. All right. This is just for the mechanics of it. Oops. I launched that poll a little too early there. No, it was just mechanics or no. B, C, D, F. All right, these are just the mechanics. The votes are in. This is just the mechanics for our class. Hey, Rick. Rick is our new hype boss.
$15. Just play a respectable class like champion.
You know, Rick, you got it, buddy. You've got the style. Listen, I'm not saying your campaign has to be Lord of the Rings, Tolkien, but like, you can't fit everything into one game. You just can't fit every possible character idea into one game. We were talking about this on the Discord the other day. I said, World of Warcraft has been around for almost 20 years. EverQuest has been around for more than 20 years. And they've added like 2 new classes ever. Pathfinder 2 is 3 years old. It has 22 classes with a 23rd that we know of on the way. Like, what are we doing here? Oh, William Brandis makes a great point. This isn't even good for the cleric, which is the class that should be taking it. Grim Prism says, I am fine with Gunslinger, but Gun Kata, that's the bridge too far. And you know what, Grim Prism? I can respect that opinion. I really can respect that opinion. Again, Gunslingers aren't for me, but I can respect that some people would like that and feel that vibe, but then go, this is just too much. Another new class in WoW for Dragon thingy. Oh, they've got a WoW added the Death Knight, and now, oh my God, they're adding a second. All right, so for mechanics, we've got 24% at C, 35% at D, and 35% at F. So it is even Stevens. D just took the lead. And we got enough votes. I'm going to call it. We're going to close it at D. 39% D, 22% C, 33% F. So I think we'll close it at D. And then, okay. All right, so now we've got the question of the flavor for the Bullet Dancer. So YouTube's Chat Ranger, -1 letter grade. This is a solid F. Oh, God, that Aleshi Gun Kata. Lug, it might actually be a poppet. A poppet is actually my even least. I like poppets less than I like leshies. So like a poppet Gun Kata master. Okay, 78% are saying it's an F. This is off to an overwhelming. Darth Gorlak asking an important question. Is this flavor normal in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, normal Pathfinder, or video game anime hybrid Pathfinder 2nd Edition? Well, Darth Gorlak, normally I would say normal Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but the longer I spend in this community, the more opportunity I get to talk to folks like yourself, folks in our community, the more I am starting to think that the normal Pathfinder 2 and the anime hybrid, video game anime hybrid Pathfinder 2 might be the same thing, actually. Frodo with an AK. All right, well, we've got 80% going in for F, and so I'm going to call it at F. Okay. Last one for the night, folks. We're going to do the Butterfly Blade, one that I do not know anything about. So, sounds interesting, maybe. Let's see what the Butterfly Blade has for us, huh? Okay. You're trained in one of Goka's oldest traditions. Man, look, what is with all of these archetypes being focused around espionage and being a spy? This is like the 4th or 5th archetype that we've just seen tonight. I feel like that was about espionage and being secretive and sneaking in. Brandis might have it right. Smith says spies are cool and edgy. That is something to be considered. Right, like wouldn't it have been way cooler if instead of like climbing Mount Doom, like Frodo had just shot a shot a AK-47 and boosted himself up, Black Powder boost. Okay. Espionage, intimidation, and combat mastery, but this time from Goka. It's very different. I promise you. It's not like Taldor, and it's not like Malkenna, and it's not like Bellflower. It's not like being a Bright Lion, and it's not like being a Bellflower Tiller, and it's not like being an alter ego. Okay, it's not from being Taldor. This is from Goka, and things are very different in Goka. Okay, because we learn our traditions of espionage, intimidation, and cutting them down with our butterfly sword, because those things all go together. It's a butterfly sword. This single, it's advanced. It's a D4, and it has every trait. Okay, it comes from Chinsha. Agile, disarm, finesse, monk, parry, twin, uncommon. It's a bally song. No, it's not though, because it's trait soup. Questing Beast is a hell of a card though, Darth Gorlock. Oldest tradition of intimidation. 0 intimidation feats in the archetype. Oh, DK, you're priming me for disappointment. Okay. Yeah, because it says it has a big cross guard, which is why it has the parry trait, but nothing extra bonus to it. Okay, here we go. You need to defeat a member of the Butterfly Blades in a sanctioned bout. All right, and we have to be training them, and they are advanced. So in order to join the Secret Spy Agency, you have to defeat a member of the Secret Spy Agency in a sanctioned bout. All right, we are having open tryouts for our Secret Spy Agency this Saturday. Come on down. We're going to have a bunch of secret members of the agency in attendance so that you can fight them in a sanctioned bout. Make sure you get a good look at them so that everybody knows, who they are. By the way, we have to be trained in butterfly swords, and then when we get that, we become, when we increase to expert or beyond, we become also trained with butterfly swords, and we gain access to butterfly swords, which is good because we were somehow trained in them, but we may not have had access to them, so that would be disappointing. Okay. By the way, this is from Fists of the Ruby Phoenix Adventure Path. Nobody played that one, so don't worry about spoilers. Clever Gambit. Your strike critically hits and deals damage to a creature you've identified with recall knowledge. What if you've just identified it? What if you know what that creature is? What if I fight an ogre and I recall knowledge to identify what is this creature? And the GM says, it's an ogre. And then I critically hit, and I trigger my Clever Gambit. But then, what if that ogre dies? And we go, huzzah. But the fight, alas, has drawn the attention of an additional ogre, who then enters the room. Well, I have not. Have I identified that creature with recall knowledge? Is that a new creature? What if that is an ogre, but it's like an NPC ogre, and so it has like some fighter feats or some barbarian feats? It's technically different. It's an ogre boss, not an ogre glutton. If it's an ogre boss, it's not an ogre glutton. It's a different creature. Okay. Have I identified it? If I crit it, do I not know anything about it? Recall knowledge is identify species in most cases. Does that mean that this, if I know what a human is, that it works against everybody? Do I know what an ogre is? Does my character, who lives in a world full of magical creatures, like if I see a dragon, do I know that that's a dragon? Or do I have to make a recall knowledge check? Who decides that? Yeah, I know. I'm just making fun of recall knowledge because it's terrible. Right, Luke. I can identify creatures pre-combat, like when I'm in a city, for example. But recall knowledge represents what my character is able to recall, not what they know, right? This is recalling knowledge I already had. So even if I was back in the city and I studied up on dragons for several months, then we go and fight the dragon in the mountains on the adventure. The question isn't whether I know anything about dragons. The question is, will I be able to recall the knowledge that I already possess? Anyways. If I crit, I can step or stride. That's cool. I mean, that's actually pretty cool. That's a cool reaction. By the way, Damien is also correct. Rules is written. You cannot recall knowledge outside of combat. Combat assessment. This is a fighter feat, right? Make a melee strike, and on a hit, you can attempt to recall knowledge about the target. On a critical hit, you get a +2 circumstance bonus to recall knowledge, and then you cannot assess their combat for a day. So this is like a, an action economy combiner, right? You're combining a strike with a recall knowledge check. I mean, this is I think this is 5e or 5e fighter a feat anyways. They get quick draw, cool, especially since the butterfly blade is a twin weapon. Butterfly's kiss lets you make non-lethal attacks without a penalty. Okay. Butterfly Sting. You gain the sneak attack class feature, but don't increase your dice, so it's just 1d6, which is actually okay for level 6 feat. You capitalize on your enemy's fears. An enemy that is frightened, any creature that has a frightened condition is also flat-footed against your attacks. Dread Striker is a fantastic rogue feat, and this is a good feat in general. I think this is pretty good. Mastermind's Eye. If we succeed at identifying a recall knowledge, the creature is flat-footed against your attacks until the start of your next turn. If you critically succeed, it is flat-footed against your attacks for 1 minute. So this is all about recall knowledge. You get crit spec in Butterfly. And then at level 14, you have Innocent Butterfly. You know how to alter the perception of others. You can cast Aura of the Unremarkable once a day. Where the fuck did this even come from? So I'm going to agree with Lug. This is a decent archetype. You can adapt the silly, I assume he means, prerequisites to any rogues guild in a big city. Yeah, it's strangely specific to what it does, but it's actually, yeah, silly. I mean, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. Flavor wise, it's like a D, but mechanically, I don't even want to rate this mechanically because this is very much a flavor thing. This is about being a member of the Butterfly Blades in this space, in this, Ruby Phoenix tournament. You have to defeat them in a sanctioned bout, but the mechanics of this are okay. I mean, combat assessment's good. Clever Gambit's okay. Quick Draw's good. I don't think Butterfly's Kiss is worth it, but Butterfly Sting is okay. Dread Striker's great. Mastermind's Eye is good. Again, Deadly Butterfly, I don't like how they feat tax these, but I think this is okay. And then randomly you get the ability to cast Aura of the Unremarkable, which makes you Innocuous, which is just so strange that you gain that ability. But, I think it's okay. I don't think I'm super excited about it. I think it's like, for me, it's like a D flavor, but it's like a C, maybe a B mechanically. Right, I think you could just take the rogue archetype instead. Well, this is getting to the idea of like prestige classes, Boothby, of doing that stuff. So somebody asked a question in chat. They said, "What? You can't recall knowledge outside of combat?" So the idea is that recall knowledge does not have the exploration or the downtime action or downtime trait. So that's where this idea comes from. The idea is that, remember, you're trying to remember a bit of knowledge. So the implication of recall knowledge is that your character already knows all this information. You are not making a check to see if you know something. You're trying to see if you can remember the information that you already know. This is why, like, because the discussion was, okay, well, couldn't my character go when the campaign starts and spend a few weeks in town and just make endless recall knowledge checks on all of the enemies that they are fighting or going to fight, you know, the most common enemies, goblins, ogres, orcs, trolls, dragons, devils, demons. You know, maybe you just, every couple months you go and study for a few weeks and you just make 24 hours worth of recall knowledge checks to gain information infinitely. And then you're like, oh, and now I have all the recall knowledge, so now it's not metagaming when I go into combat. But that's not what Pathfinder 2 is suggesting. What Pathfinder 2 is suggesting is that your character kind of is already doing that. And your character kind of already knows all that information. And that what you're actually trying to do is see is if you can remember it. Yeah, initiative amnesia is an interesting way to describe it. That's correct, Ryan. The assumption is that as an adventurer, actually, the better assumption, because here's the thing about recall knowledge. It's not even trained only. Right? It could be untrained. So in theory, yeah, it's untrained. So in theory, your character may actually possess all knowledge in the universe, and you're just trying to make a check to see if you can remember it. Hey, DK, we'll see you, buddy. So yeah. So I'm gonna have to rename this. I'm gonna have to rename this one, huh? From A to D to A to B. I just got, you know. Initiative amnesia is ruining your severe encounters. Take Recall Knowledge Plus, only available in approved apothecaries. Talk to your alchemist if Recall Knowledge Plus is for you. Side effects may include ruining plot lines in your DM's adventure path. It's a weird hill for recall knowledge to die on, Grim Prism. And especially for something that is so vague and non-defined. Because the problem is, if the idea is if you are remembering it, here's the issue. I know this seems like a silly thing to be pedantic about, but if your character fights a troll and you, the player, know that trolls are weak to fire, but you say, look, that's metagaming. Now, trolls are common. They're common. And your character is like a level 4 or 5 adventurer. So this should be something that's like, hey, this is in my wheelhouse. In my personal opinion, your character should know that trolls are weak to fire. But let's say that you say, you know what? No, this is metagame. I, Derek, know that this troll is weak to fire, but maybe my character doesn't know. But that's not what recall knowledge is checking. It's checking to see if you can remember something. And so we fight the troll. And I have Fireball, but I don't use it. I have Produce Fire. I don't use it. Instead, I said to the GM, I said, hey, GM, can I recall something can I recall something useful to know about this troll? Derek knows everything about trolls, but I'm doing it to be respectful of the game. And my GM says, sure, make a recall knowledge check. So I make a recall knowledge check. The GM says, the troll actually is a giant, which is a humanoid. So use society. Feels kind of weird. And I go, okay, whatever, fine, whatever. Will you make the society check? I succeed. And the GM says, trolls are horrific creatures with powerful regenerative abilities. Fire is their weakness and can shut down their regeneration abilities. And I say, awesome, cool. That was my first action. Second action, Fireball. Cool, awesome. Everybody agrees with that. It's the next week. Session. The session ends. We go adventure. We finish. We do some other stuff. We fight some other monsters. We go back to town. We talk to some NPCs. The game comes to an end. It's the next week. It's the next session. And we're heading back up into those hillsides, still trying to find the location of this mysterious cave. And we encounter a troll again. Is it metagaming that my character knows what a troll is? Is it metagaming that my character knows that the troll is weak to fire? Or do I need to recall that knowledge again? Because again, recall knowledge is remembering information that your character already possessed in, quote, the heat of the moment. That's the dilemma. That's where the misconnect is. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, of course he knows. You made the check already. Okay, so what's preventing me from making all of those checks before we go adventuring? You see? And then you say, well, you can only recall knowledge in combat. So I can only gain information about a creature when I'm fighting it. Like, it's a very weird, problematic set of circumstances. Yes, recall knowledge did not exist in Basic or AD&D, and in those versions of the game, they relied on the player's mind. Man, you just blew my mind and made recall knowledge even worse. Sorry, Darth Carlock. When people talk about the problem with recall knowledge, that is actually my problem with recall knowledge. It's the concept of what is it? Yes, it's creating a solution to a problem that didn't exist. That's a great way to put it. Dang, missed most of the. By the way, Frostjack was in my first ever Northern Reaches game last week. They had a rough go of it, but Frostjack played like a champ. Said wanted to know how the stream went, and then Don Pokey said pretty good, slightly pessimistic design wise, but fun anyways. Or if the player forgets what a weird monster does that you encountered in a previous session, do you need to re-roll to see if your character remembers? That's a great point as well. So yeah, it's an interesting dilemma, especially because, as I said, the recall knowledge check is in of itself secret concentration, and it doesn't have the exploration trait, and it doesn't have the downtime trait. So, but it's again, it's a question of, so it's remembering a bunch of information. What does your character know? What amount of information? Is there a point where your character would no longer have to recall knowledge because they just, now it's part of their memory? How do we know what your character knows? We don't. It's very wonky. I think for me it made it better. I think for me it made it better. But what is the answer to your question? By raw, do players need to do the recall? RC, I think you mean recall knowledge, RK. From your point, RK is remembering that in the moment. That's right. My assessment is that rules is written, your character, your PC, knows nothing about a monster. And other than what is like immediately apparent. That's the rules is written. And they have to make recall knowledge checks to see if they can remember a bit of knowledge relating to topic to that skill. I know it's very strange, but this is why we call it the initiative amnesia. Yeah, if this game wants to include recall knowledge, it has to answer, what does your character know at some point? Honestly, I think things like that carry for a campaign. It was knowledge that was never useful until it was necessary. The issue is, yeah, your PCs don't know anything about anything. They have to recall knowledge. It's like all of your memory is on the cloud, but your internet connection is ass. Like, the main issue is, what is, I mean, recall knowledge is a single action. So, like, in 10 minutes, you could make 100 recall knowledge. Oh, no, more than that, right? You can make three recall knowledge checks around. You can make 30 recall knowledge checks a minute. So you can make 300 recall knowledge checks in a 10-minute period of time. So like if my character was about to go, say, I don't know, to fight goblins, before we ever got there, can I just go to the GM and say, hey, GM, I'm going to make 300 recall knowledge checks about goblins and about, I don't know, wolves and about wargs, because sometimes goblins have wargs. What about, you know what, I'm going to do goblins. I'll do 100 checks on goblins, 100 checks on hobgoblins, 100 checks on bugbears, 100 checks on wolves, 100 checks on wargs. Guys, we have like half an hour, right? Cool. And then it's like, oh, then your GM goes, okay, well, I guess start rolling. So, you know, it's Boothby, each check increases in difficulty, then you can't make a new check once you fail one. That's not true. There is no failure condition listed for recalled knowledge. Only critical success, success, and critical failure. Only critical success, success, and failure. There is no failure condition listed for recall knowledge. On a critical success, you gain information accurately and additional information or context. On a success, you recall the information accurately or gain a clue. On a critical failure, you get incorrect information or gain an erroneous or misleading clue. There is no condition for failure. So, yes, and the failure thing is specifically linked to identifying monsters. Oh, Golden Monkey, of course that's too heavy-handed. If anybody plays like that, let me know, and I will come and I will personally slap the shit out of you. Like, no one should ever actually do that. Ever. Ever. Yeah, you know what? Gosu Bilko makes a really great point here anyways. What are you recalling knowledge if it's a creature that you've never encountered before? Well, you can't be recalling knowledge then. So clearly you have studied about this creature before. Do you need to recall knowledge on an opponent you faced before? Why or why not? I would argue that the answer should, of course, be no. But I'm saying that, like, I think the rules of Pathfinder 2 would say yes. You know, I don't know. I mean, it's yeah, and so there's a follow-up in the GM section on additional knowledge. Okay, let me go back to it. Additional knowledge. It says, sometimes a character might want to follow up on a recall knowledge, rerolling another check to get even more information. After a success, further uses of recall knowledge can yield more information, but you should adjust the difficulty to be higher for each attempt. Once a character has attempted an incredibly hard check or failed a check, further attempts are fruitless. The character has recalled everything they know about the subject. What does that mean? If I make a check to know about a goblin, are you telling me that I can never make another check against a goblin ever again? No, what this is implying is that recall knowledge is transitive, temporary. It is in the moment, and thus implies initiative amnesia. And here's our creature identification rules. By the way, to say nothing of the fact that you get a higher DC to identify rarer creatures, which is usually the creatures that you want to identify anyways. You failed your recall knowledge. Recall knowledge is a mechanic that is translating character knowledge to player knowledge. Yes, but the question is, once that knowledge becomes player knowledge, is it locked in? Can you make recall knowledge checks in town? That's what it really comes down to. And ask yourself that question. There is no right answer. The game does not provide guidance to it. But can players have their player characters make recall knowledge checks about creatures, foes, villain, whatever, while they're in town? And if they do fail, and you determine that their further attempts are fruitless, and they can no longer recall information about the subject, is that forever? Is that for 1 day? Is that for 1 hour? Is that for 1 minute? How long? How long? Recall knowledge is an interesting mechanic that was not implemented well. I agree. When it works on my games, it tips the encounter favorably to players and makes it interesting. But choosing what information to provide. After many KOLC videos and some years playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I'm glad the things that we're criticizing are recall knowledge in some other areas. I think the game is really good if we need to pinpoint this much. Luke, there's some other areas that I want to criticize as well, too. But, I mean, yeah, the framework of the game, it operates. It works. I mean, it delivers... it certainly delivers a mechanically rich D20-based experience, mostly fantasy-based, adventure-based game with solid encounter building rules that, for the most part, are going to create encounters which are going to give the illusion of extreme difficulty, while, for the most part, allowing your players to win. If you push the difficulty envelope above, say, severe, pushing towards extreme, you definitely get to encounters which I would say begin to become 20, 30, 40% likely of a PC casualty, unless the PCs play particularly well. And so that could be very rewarding for a lot of people. How do I run recall knowledge, Derek? Yeah. So my inspiration for recall knowledge is I basically use Powered by the Apocalypse system, where in fact, the article, which I have been trying to write now for several weeks, is to write down because my ideas are more loosey-goosey, right? And so when you write something down, you want to think through some of the implications, because people are going to be using them. And while I'm very comfortable making up things on the fly, when you write something down and you present it to people, you want it to be, pretty solid. So for our next Battle Cry issue, that's the e-zine that we produce here at Knights of Last Call, and we try to get it out every month or two, with information about Pathfinder 2 and other role-playing game systems, but a lot of Pathfinder 2 stuff. I want to create, sort of codify my recall knowledge system, and I really use things from Blades in the Dark and Forge in the Dark. At a high level, what I do is, if a character makes a recall knowledge check on a critical failure, their character doesn't actually... well, number one, if they are trained, I assume that they basically know what every common creature is. I assume that they know what level the creature is. I assume they know what it is. Oh, that's a goblin warrior. Oh, that's an ogre boss. Oh, that's a, whatever. If they are an expert, I assume they know what the uncommon creatures are. If they are a master, I assume they know what the rare creatures are. And if they are a legendary, somehow they know what the unique creatures are too. And they're legendary, so, hey, they're just really good. They're legendary. Of course they know. They even know what the unique creatures are. And that's just baseline. Like, that's level, name, basic types, maybe even traits. They know what that creature is. They're like, yep, I've seen it. I know it. I know what it does. And then if they make a recall knowledge check to gain information on them, even if they critically fail, then they don't know anything, and that's it. If they fail, I still usually give them some sort of helpful bit of information because they wasted an action and they're trying to learn more about the game. And I want to encourage my players to have information so that they can make better, fun, more cool decisions. Recalling knowledge is boring. You could be striking or casting a spell or setting up a flank. You chose to recall knowledge to gain information, and I respect that, and I want you to have that. 2, I treat any information that the player has as information that their character has. I know people wax poetically about metagaming, but show me that metagaming when you are playing your character like some sort of tactical genius because you're playing the miniature game. You're moving your character in. Your character just got frightened 3, but you go, but I'm buffed up. I'm going to move into combat and I'm going to attack. Sounds like shitty role playing to me, but you're doing it anyways because you're playing this game as if your character was a pawn, not a person, which is fine because we're playing Pathfinder 2, but then it's got to go both ways. And so I allow my players knowledge that they possess to be able to play their character. I think it's okay to be good at the game. I think it's not cheesy or metagaming to say, I have played this game a lot. I know what this character can do. I know what this monster can do, and I'm okay with that. Recall knowledge is an effort for you to gain information for the player via the reason of the game. So if you get a failure, cool. Then I still give you some information. If you get a success, it depends. On Foundry, if I'm playing Foundries, I use Elandril's token tooltips. And if you get a success, I allow the player's vision on the token tooltip, which means they can now see the creature's fortitude, reflex, will, AC, hit points, speed, and perception. If they get a critical success on Foundry, I make them an observer on the character's sheet, on the NPC, the monster's sheet. I let them, obviously they can't edit it, but they become an observer. They can double click on the token in Foundry and bring up the creature's sheet, and they can scroll through it. They can read all of its abilities. They can see everything that it can do, all of its attacks, everything. I want my players to know what stuff are. They're the heroes, for God's sakes. But not just that, they're players. And if I don't respect them as heroes, I definitely respect them as players. I respect their time. I respect their patience. I respect the fact that they are trying to play the game and they want to make good decisions. And to do that, you need information. I hate gotchas. I hate when players are making bad decisions because of poor information that the game gives you no vehicle or method of access to do. I can't stand it. And everything I can do to try to get around that is better. So that's how I run recall knowledge. Do you use secret roles? No, I do not. At all. For anything. I always roll out in the front. So that's how I do it. Appreciate the perspective. Well, yes, that's definitely me. And again, for me, look, if a creature has weakness fire, I want my players to know that. Don't you? Don't you want your players to be like, oh, we know that this creature's weak to fire. We know that this creature needs good damage to to trigger an additional points of 10 points of damage. Oh, cool. The cleric took the holy positive weapon spell or whatever it's called. To buff our weapons and do an additional 1 point of good damage. I love that. Like, the players are going to feel awesome. You're going to feel awesome. Maybe the combat won't be such a, drag out forever either. Like, don't you want them to win? You're playing a game. Most of you might be fudging. Hopefully not, but most of you are fudging to let them win anyways. But then even if you're not fudging and you're playing the game straight as a freaking arrow, which is fantastic, awesome, good for you, you're still playing Pathfinder 2, where in my rough approximation, a group of characters who are even remotely proficient have something like a 99% chance of winning a moderate encounter. And maybe like a 95% chance, 90% chance of winning a severe encounter. So like, you're already playing a game where the odds are just overwhelmingly stacked in the player's favor. So clearly you want them to win. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? You want them to struggle in ignorance and feeling like they're dumb or they're stupid or like that they don't know what they're doing. I don't understand the mentality that leads game designers and GMs to want to somehow punish their player for paying. Like, nope, you have to earn it. You have to suffer. I have to dig my claws into you and make you suffer before I'm going to let you get to the next cutscene in this adventure path. I just don't understand it. I just don't get that mentality at all. Yeah. again, maybe it's my time playing, many years of D&D, but also indie games and Powered by the Apocalypse. It's like, be a fan of the players and be a fan of the player characters. And I want to be. That doesn't mean I want them to, have a free lunch, but I want to be thinking about their experience and how they are feeling. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to make it easy for them, but I do want to make it engaging. 95% to win a severe encounter. Have you played Abomination Vaults? I have, and we did not have a particularly hard time. At least through the first 4 levels. We were using free archetype. I know people say that free archetype doesn't actually increase your power, but I think it does. Don Pokey says, yeah, I want to struggle because I know the optimal strategy, but I decided to roleplay my guy is scared, not because I failed some random secret recall knowledge that gated my knowledge. I mean, that's fair. I mean, if you want to do that, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm not saying that your players shouldn't, earn their victories. That's totally fine. That's totally reasonable. That's totally acceptable. But having them just, take shots in the dark and just guess is just, it's just silly to me. It's kind of crazy. So, alrighty, folks. 10:30 here, so I'm going to wrap up. We only got through A through B. I'm sorry, but there was a lot of things that came out there that just needed to be talked about. We saw some wonky ones. We saw some thing, and we talked about recall knowledge a lot, which is important. I think it's interesting. And again, I am working on that. And it might end up being a multi-part article because it's going to be pretty big, but I am definitely trying to put down into a system that we can use in Pathfinder 2. That, to be clear, it's going to change the way that your Pathfinder 2 game runs, but that is going to be available in future Battlecry issues. And Battlecry is, again, our e-zine that we produce every month or two that comes out for our champion tier patron members. We've already released 2 issues with a third one on the way. That's going to be dropping soon. It's only available to patrons the month that it comes out and that it drops. And there might be an opportunity later on to go back and buy back issues. But if you're interested in getting some of our system ideas, I'd recommend definitely checking us out, patreon.com/Knights of Last Call. Remember to like and subscribe and give us all that support and love. We're going to be back next week with more live streams. I think I'm going to be on Roll for Combat on Wednesday, if I don't have a work meeting, which I don't think I should. We were scheduled. We never officially rescheduled it, but we were scheduled because 2 weeks ago we took off because of Quest for the Frozen Flame because of Leshies. We did Fistful of Flowers the week before Halloween, or a couple days before Halloween. We are supposed to play this Tuesday, but Bob, who is of course a key pillar of our game, he's going to be attending a city council meeting, so he's not going to be available. And I don't want to play without Bob, so we might postpone Quest for the Frozen Flame on the 8th and move it to something like maybe the 15th. So we'll see for that. So so next week we're gonna have a couple more live streams. So we're gonna keep talking about archetypes. We're gonna make it through this. It might end up being more like 6 or 7 to get through this, but we'll get through it. And of course, more fun stuff to come. So, alrighty, folks. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you to the patrons for supporting us. Thank you to our YouTube adventurers for being members and having your awesome emojis and loyalty badges. And thank you to everybody who tipped and super chatted tonight. Your support is what allows us to keep doing this. I assure you, we make almost no money. Really, I mean that, from YouTube and views. We just don't get a lot of traction that way. It's your support, even if it's just $5 a month, that allows us to keep doing this. So, we tried to do YouTube shorts. Guess what? YouTube still hates us. So it has become very apparent to us and clear to us that we live and breathe and die on the largesse of the several hundred people who have chosen to make it a priority to put us into their lives, to join an amazing, incredibly supportive, incredibly enriching, incredibly challenging community, because we will challenge your ideas. We will make you grow. We will force you to think about what you low and question what you've learned. And I think that's what growth is all about. I've grown. I know Aaron's grown. We've learned things. We've changed our opinions. And that's what the community is all about. It's about all of us growing together. And the donation, the Patreon benefit is just a way of supporting that. And, you know, when we're putting a lot of work in every week to make this channel happen. And so it's amazing and incredible that some of you have wanted to support us and join in that journey with us. So I have also grown sideways. But hey, I have a rack. I have like a $2,000, it's like with the bench, it's like $2,500 on a huge pallet. It's like this tall. It's like 4 feet tall, 5 feet tall in my garage, waiting to be assembled. Because I need to get in shape. So I'm looking forward to doing that before the holidays come in here and just destroy everything. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, again for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time on the Nights of Last Call. Peace.